What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Footy with an Edge. We're back again with another stream talking about Paul Scholes, Kobe Mainu, and freaking Ruben Amorim, man. When is it gonna stop? Okay, can someone just make it stop? Is there a button I can hit that can just make this go away? Because I I just see this guy just sounds like such a back in my day. We used to be good. Back in my day, we used to score goals. Has Paul Scholes checked the league table? Because we have the third most goals in the league. Like, you want to score more goals than Man City without someone like Erling Haaland? Like, I'm trying to understand what he wants. Am I live? Can you guys hear me okay? Hello? Just want to make sure I'm coming through. Let me get a little what in the chat. Let me see. No Man's Sky Clippy says, "What's up, Man United? Don't hurt me no more." Yeah, is that the song that's playing in Paul Scholes' head? Okay, so it looks like we are live, and you guys are here. You must be crazy trying to laugh at Scholes to back in the manager with more losses than wins. I'm not laughing at him, dude. I think he needs a vacation. What's wrong with saying that? There's no laughing at Scholes. He's allowed to have his opinion, but I don't. He just sounds like a broken record, bro. Like, I think he needs to find something else to do, like, just for his own health, Amorim will eventually get sacked. He's crap. Dude, every coach these days eventually gets sacked. That doesn't make every coach crap, okay? If you're managing any top team, you're bound to get sacked eventually because it may not be good enough. There's very few coaches that don't get sacked. That doesn't make... your argument is flawed. Imran says, let's be real. Amorim is doing at 40 what all these ex-players fail to do in their 40s. That's why they keep attacking him, as jealousy dressed up as punditry. I also think if he was an English coach, like if this was Gareth Southgate, there would be no issues. There would be no problems. Bald guy with glasses says, we can hear you. Emski says, yeah. They call him the ginger drama queen. Yeah. Joao Tavares says, yeah, we hear you. Okay, awesome. Scholes did not last. No, he lasted 2 weeks. Let's give him his flowers. He lasted 2 weeks as Oldham Athletic manager, and then he quit. Or they let him go, whatever it was. Red Army says, Paul Scholes, the man who sees managers the way toddlers see broccoli. Doesn't matter what's on the plate. He'll complain anyway. Must be nice to have a pundit career when the only tactic is Control-C, Control-V. Blame the manager. If Scholes were the playlist, it'd be one song on repeat, Sack the Manager remix. Paul Scholes, Professor Stackwell. Yeah, Red Army's having some fun. I love it. How you guys doing, man? Amorim wasn't half the player even Mainu is when he was a player. Why does it matter what he was as a player? Why does it matter what... Oh, shit. Shaylin's going crazy, bro. Yo. Imran, Sloth, King Eric, Nick MW, and KF5571 all received a gift membership. Boys, let's give some love to Shaylin in the chat, bro. You're the best, man. That's awesome. Thank you for supporting the channel, man. And all you guys that are getting memberships, make sure you go check out the members only content, and also make sure you join the Discord and get involved there, because we have a pop in Discord. We almost have 200 people there. Constant discussions every day. Very intelligent folks, just sharing their opinions. So let's say thank you to Shaylin. Let me need to open the live chat here. There we go. Okay. What was I saying? Imran says, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Imran, welcome to the members club. And yes, Shaylin is the GOAT. They're attacking him because he's not English. Joao Tavares is clapping. Amorim wasn't half the player. Oh boy, don't rate Jose Mourinho that highly then. Yeah, exactly. And listen, Pep Guardiola was a great player. He played for Barcelona, but he's much better as a manager than he was as a player, right? Sir Alex wasn't that good a player. Like, I feel like you have a very broken argument in what you're saying. Listen, I get that you're Amorim out, but we can also acknowledge that Paul Scholes is talking shit, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So Darshan Jazz says, hey, what's up? What's up? As someone who's followed United since 2001, it hurts to see the disrespect for Scholes. Although we don't agree with him in this matter, let him have his opinion. He can have his opinion, bro. No, how am I disrespecting him? Just because I disagree with him, that's disrespect? That doesn't make sense. I can respect him and respectfully disagree with him, and that's what I'm doing. I just think he needs to take a vacation. That's all, because he's just very worked up about Ruben Amorim, even though like some of the stuff he said. Right? Let me read out some of the stuff that Paul Scholes actually said, and you tell me this isn't just agenda driven and it's actually fact. Okay? And then I'll leave him alone. That's totally fine. So he says Amorim doesn't get the club and that he's not the right man. He says he doesn't understand the culture. He believes United should prioritize risk and entertainment. He criticizes a lack of wingers beating players, shots on their goal, and flair. He argues this identity should come before the systems or structure. Again, when you're making a point like identity should come before systems or structure, you're making a coaching argument. You're saying this is how the team should be coached, right? And respectfully, Paul Scholes didn't last 2 weeks as a manager, right? So how can he say what's his pedigree to say his identity should come before systems or structure? Because listen, I make comments about Ruben Amorim, but I'm looking at the evidence on the pitch. I'm analyzing the games that I see. I'm not saying abstractly or philosophically he should be playing this way or that way, because I don't have that pedigree or that knowledge. I haven't coached a team for 6 years in a league and, won the league or something like that. So I don't have no right to say that. And then he has strong opposition to Amorim using a back three. Again, this system is not a back three system, right? It's a evolving system that relies on positional that relies on positional flexibility. It's a very much total football system that has scored the third most goals in the league. And one of the things he has said is that we're not scoring enough goals. So it really just seems like he has an axe to grind, and that's why he's saying all these things. So we can, anything he puts out in the public, we're allowed to criticize, right? We're not sitting here disrespecting him. We're not sitting here disrespecting his playing career. In fact, for me, he's probably our greatest ever midfielder, right? There's players who couldn't even lace his boots that play for this club, and maybe that's part of the problem, because he looks at it as simple as turn up to the training ground, do your training, and be excellent in the game. And it's not like that, right? Obviously, I think he probably is undervaluing his own greatness when he says stuff like, the player should be better, the manager should be better. Guys, Paul Scholes was a once in a generation player. We can't just get another Paul Scholes to play for us. And without a Paul Scholes in the team, without a Roy Keane in the team, without a Giggs in the team, without Beckham in the team, how are we supposed to be just as good as they were, right? It's not going to happen instantly. We have to go find those players. We have to go nurture those players. And even without those players, I'd argue this manager is overperforming where we should be right now. So that's just, it's a simple point. It's not really talking shit about Paul Scholes, right? And when I say he needs a vacation, I genuinely just mean he could benefit from some time off from the Ruben Amorim Kobbie Mainoo topic. Like, he just sounds like a broken record going on about the same stuff over and over again. And I just think, just chill out, bro. He can absolutely do whatever he wants, right? I'm not saying he should listen to me and stop talking, but maybe if he really wants to be critical of Ruben Amorim, give us a little bit more context, right? Come out and say, listen, actually, you know what? Given the central midfield pairings he has, I actually think Kobbie Mainoo and Ugarte would work better in that midfield than Bruno and Casemiro, because we would get more legs, we'd get a progressive carrier. Like, if there was some nuance into his thing with the idea of here's how Amorim can get better, I would have so much more time for that guy. The problem is he just wants to talk shit. There's no suggestions of how Amorim can improve. He's just like, that's not the right guy. Okay, why is he not the right guy? No answer other than he doesn't understand. Just vague stuff like he doesn't understand the identity of the club. He doesn't understand what the club stands for. We don't play with wingers. Guys, come on. This is super antiquated like these are such antiquated takes. It just sounds like old man sitting there and talking about back in my day. That's all it sounds like. So that's the problem I have. So anyways, Scholes need a timeout. He will thank us later. And Sherpa's been following the club for longer than you know, have you been following the club longer than Scholes has been alive? No, that's not possible. How old is Scholes? Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes is 51. Okay. But he's been following the club longer than Scholes played for United, for sure. Right. So if he's saying that, then maybe there is some merit to me saying that too, right? Yeah, what do you mean by he's not a Man United manager? Tell us what makes a Man United manager. We don't play a back five. This manager brought Dorgu, a player that can pass, cross, or dribble. Well, to be fair, it's a club decision, right? They've specifically made it a point to take the transfer decisions away from the manager. So I would argue that he didn't actually do it. You're blabbering tactical rubbish. We sit in a flat back five. Lord Seventh, man, why don't you do this? Why don't you join the StreamYard link that's pinned here, and let's have a conversation about it, because it seems like you're very upset. And maybe this can be your vacation, right? Just come have a chat with us, bro. Let's see. We'll get Shaylin on the stream. Shaylin, how you doing, man? You still eating that Maggie or what?
No, man, I have a pasta with me.
Well, okay. Yeah. Different kind of pasta then.
Oh, like spaghetti. Yeah, that's what it is.
So. Yeah. No, but but Maggie's pasta too.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Although it technically doesn't sit in your mind as pasta. I had the most random like home inspection today because I'm a renter. I don't own. So some lady just shows up and she left the door open. I'm like, I have a cat. Like, have the decency to close the door. And good thing my cat's like scared to death, so she's hiding under the blanket in my bedroom. But she didn't escape the house. But that's why I was late today. But how you doing?
Yeah, if I had that, and with my dog, or as you said yesterday, Sir Jim's dog.
Yeah.
I think she probably would have ran out. But
yeah.
So if I can give you my opinion on it, right? I think at least with this, because I have a lot of beef with it in the sense, not with Scholes, but just with what he said. Amorim has inherited a broken club. And I don't think that Scholes is actually really understanding that situation. And then the other thing too is that he's very dismissive of the team that he came into and the team where they are in now, especially for somebody who's critiquing the team week in, week out, and is critiquing the manager week in, week out. When Scholes came in with the class of 92, Sir Alex Ferguson was already there for like 8 years, almost, right? Or around that time.
And six of which weren't that good.
Yeah. 6 of which weren't good, but there was at least this, like they had won stuff, right? There was a winning culture in that point. And then they're also bringing in Eric Cantona around that time as well to kind of bring in stability even further, but also to be the focal point for all of the noise that would be surrounding the team. If Kabi Menu is going into the team today, he is the noise. He's not even in it, and he's already the noise, right? Because of the desperation that a lot of fans have around wanting to have this youth come through. And this is where I think the fans need to become a lot more patient about it, right? Because when Sir Alex was trying to get people, and these are like names that they probably, the majority probably not heard of, but Russell Beardsmore, Mark Robbins, these guys had like a terrible time under Sir Alex early on. It wasn't necessarily all that much like different. So for him to like criticize the fact that, in a really like poor United side, coming off of the worst, league finish that they've had almost ever, I think, bar relegation, definitely in the Premier League.
Well, in the modern era, like post like let's say post successful era, or when the Premier League actually became the Premier League from the first division in 92 or whatever.
Yeah, and it's
This is
just
the worst position.
it's rough. And then the other part, he goes about like how there's no identity, there's no XYZ, and I'm like, identity takes time. You don't just get it like right away. Or it took
Yeah,
it
it's not
took
just
Sir
an ID
Alex
card.
a while. Yeah, it's like it's not. Oh, here you go, it's verified.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, and I don't know. I had a lot of time for him when he was playing, and I just feel like I don't have that for him or the majority of the other players anymore because of just
So
the opinions
Shaylin,
that they put out.
the key thing you mentioned there is the misunderstanding that the manager can be the equivalent of a Messi, right? Which is, even with the shit team, he'll just dribble past 10 players and score the goal. Or he can
Yeah,
be a prime Ronaldo. Even with the shit team, he'll just dribble past 10 players and score a goal. And the truth is, Messi didn't win Argentina or World Cup till he had a great team around him, right? You want to look at you and you want to talk about Ronaldo. Ronaldo in his prime never had a good Portugal team. Him after his prime is when the Portugals become good, right? Like right now, Portugal is stacked, but when he was in his prime, he didn't really have a good team. So him winning that 2016 Euros was a huge deal, right? Because what did didn't he have like Bebe or something at striker like next to him, right? So who the
mhm.
hell is Bebe? Like nobody remembers Bebe, and so um, my point is people don't people overestimate how much a coach can do with bad players. You give a coach good players and you compare him to another coach that has good players, that's a fair comparison, right? So even the whole reason I rate Klopp so much is because Pep had way better teams the whole time they went up against each other, and Klopp was able to. Even though it's ridiculous to say that a team with like Salah, Mane, Firmino, Van Dijk, Allison is an underdog team, it was an underdog team, right? Because the squad wasn't good enough. Like, who did they even have in their midfield? It was Wijnaldum, Henderson, and then they got Fabinho eventually, who was even good for like 3, 4 seasons. But their bench strength was so bad because they were bringing James Milner on, they were bringing freaking Shaqiri on the right wing, right? They had Adam Lallana for how long? Klopp started his Premier League career with freaking Alberto Moreno
Yeah,
as left back. He
yeah,
was so bad.
and look at the weight of the expectation around that team compared to
Yeah.
where it is where we are. And like if you see just the difference that Klopp had made in a year, he was averaging what close to 2 points in his like first full season, like per
Yeah.
game, because like that was the amount of time that like he had needed.
Was Salah also the first season he came in broke the goal scoring record with 34
Yeah,
goals.
yeah, exactly. And so these are things where I'm just like the situation which they walked into as players in the past versus the situation that's there now. And then the best part about it is the entire podcast is about critiquing the situation and then saying the only way to fix it is by playing copy menu. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You're suddenly the team is not going to be toxic. Like Lord Seventh was saying, is like, where was the total football when we were playing against 10 men Everton? And I'm like, what does Kobe Manu do in that situation? Does he inspire the team
Also, he came
to
on.
somehow like
He came on in that game. Didn't he play 32 minutes in that game?
he did, and there was no
What did he
output.
do?
Yeah.
I'll go as far as to say our greatest midfielder ever is probably Paul Scholes. I don't think just him coming into this team makes us a title winner, right? Because the quality of the league has gone up so much as well. Like when Paul Scholes was playing, there used to be at least 4 or 5 teams that would just turn over for United on both the games that they played, right? So 10 games a season were just gimmies for the United team. Like the whole thing about the teams losing in the tunnel or whatever, they just didn't have the belief. Whereas now you have even the 20th place team has like psychologists and stuff like that, even though Wolves are completely crap this year. Let's talk about the first 19 teams then. All these teams show some fight, right? All these teams come to Old Trafford believing they can win. Like you would never have a team as good as Burnley, like relatively speaking, like 20 years ago, coming to Old Trafford believing they can win a game, right? Whereas
Yeah.
now that's changed. And Burnley and okay, you want to say United are crap now? They weren't crap back then. Those teams are going to Liverpool. They're going to Etihad. They're going to all these clubs. Look at Sunderland as a promoted club. They have gone to Chelsea and won, right? Look at Leeds. They beat Chelsea. When was, like, 20 years ago, when would you see a promoted team going toe to toe with one of the best teams
You
of the
wouldn't.
last decade? You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. And you're mentioning, here's the holistic view of the league here of like, okay, this is how competitive that it's become, and this is the type of situation, and then that this is the type of the environment. I listened to that entire thing, and he's like critiquing the club's
Oh, you listened
leadership,
to the whole
right?
podcast?
Yeah, because there's more than just about like, the stuff on Kogmani. Like he
Yeah, yeah.
thinks like,
They
oh,
talked
like,
about the Salah situation as well, and then they talked about the
yeah.
yeah.
But not to like bring us back to the Salah situation, I guess. But that nobody's understanding of like United's DNA. Who understood United's DNA when Sir Alex first came? In fact, I would say that got established in 1992 when he decided to go ahead and like bet in a lot of those players, where it's like, okay, now here is the time. You know why? Because they had established a team that could regularly take pressure off of young players looking to come through, because that's the environment that was set up. But again, it took 6 to 8 years for that to happen. Now I get it. Maybe we can do it faster, but it's
And
not happening in 18 months.
nobody's saying Amorim should get 6 to 8 years. We're
Yeah.
saying give him 3, right?
And even if like after like the second year, right? Like even in next season, and it's like people are starting to clamor like, hey, we need more youth to come in. Like, dude, sure, but this the fan base always wants a savior, and sometimes they're just like, we're gonna sign him, and then sometimes like, oh, he's just in our own backyard, right? And like I hear a lot of times about stuff like, oh, these players they're not here anymore and they look great. I think the most valid critique of that is probably Alvaro Fernandez, where it's like we never really gave him a shot, and it's like he probably should have gotten.
Yeah, that's also
the
on Ten
same.
Hag though.
Yeah, it's on Ten Hag. But then some of the other guys, like Scott McTominay, was disappearing in the middle of games in the Premier League. The reason why he probably looks so good in Napoli right now is because it's a slower paced league, or it suits him better.
Well,
Dean
he's
Henderson,
also king of the show there.
Yeah.
Which he was never good enough, because essentially what people are saying, when you want to take the McTominay stick and beat us with it, you're saying McTominay should have played ahead of Bruno. Like, are you crazy?
Like, when are you going to play him in that position? And that was his best position too, with where Bruno was playing. You're never going to put him there. Ironically, he would have thrived under Amorim because of, maybe we don't see one of Mbeumo or Cunha coming into the team, but like if he was here, because
actually Rishi has been saying for a long time that if we had McTominay now, he gets in over Kobe even in that midfield.
Yeah, probably, because he'll do the work.
And he has the build, right? He's like 6'4". Like he's got the physicality. He knows how to run around. He's not going to be. He has a bit more of the hustle than Kobe does.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I think some of the fans are like rightly pointing out that the large problem is that we have these ex players that want to be like super like critical of the situation that we're in, and they want to be able to offer their own opinion and whatnot. And in that same podcast, I forget who it was, but they kind of go that like Ferguson, like Sir Alex wanted kind of like a Bayern Munich type situation where their ex-players were heavily involved in the club even after the fact. And I'm just like, with the sheer level of toxicity, and then you guys, the best ones, decided that no, we don't want to have this level of involvement, because you know what? The old regime would have allowed it to happen. You said, no, I'm going to go into media instead. And you're now like beating the club with that stick of like, oh, hey, like that doesn't make sense. And two, you're so toxic with what it is that you're putting out there today. Does it even make sense to have you around anymore? So I'm like, for in my personal opinion, I'm like, I'm glad that I had the chance to witness you guys win things under us. But the way that you've turned out after the fact has just been like, they say don't
so bitter. Like, why can't you just be happy that you guys won? Exactly. And try to be here for the club? Because you know what's funny to me, like the most or the guy that talks least shit, I'm not even gonna say most sense, right, seems to be Owen Hargreaves, and he was here for like 2 or 3 years, mostly spend most of that time injured, right? You see Rio, like I don't have any problem with the personality. In fact, in terms of if you want to look up to somebody and from how you can bounce back from things that go on in your personal life, Rio is a role model in that sense, right? Because he's had a lot of tough shit to live through. But in terms of his analysis, he's very like Gone with the Wind, right? Like you'll see a media sphere developing towards manager out, and he'll jump on that train. And then if it's the other way, he'll jump on that train too.
He's very.
So it's hard for me to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Whereas Gary Neville, you can tell he's just got like so much going on in his life. I don't think he's ever watched a game back twice after his playing career ended.
No. I mean, he probably doesn't. But I think that, with the whole, how do I put it? Like them getting shut out by the club, right? Because Ayush makes a valid point too, that Inios probably did do something like that to just be like, no, we're just not going to have any outside noise whatsoever. That's coming in. If you're Paul Scholes and you're looking at Kobbie Mainoo, and instead of publicly going out there thinking that you're doing the right thing by, criticizing the manager and the situation that the club is currently in, would it not be more prudent for you, if you really care about the interest of growing the talent, to maybe talk to Kobbie directly and be like, hey, I know it sucks, but privately, if we need to have a conversation with Ruben Amorim in private to see what it is that like we need to get you to do, I'm happy to press on people to get you there, right? Because it's like, I would much rather like if you want to be this mentor that's like saying like, no, I want to see the youth of our club succeed, and I want to be the person who gets them there. Calling the sacking of the manager, telling him, you need to leave, which in this situation is probably the right thing to do, but doing it publicly is not the best way to deal
also,
with
you know what it does? It's putting undue pressure on Kobbie Mainoo. It's making him the face of something that he shouldn't be right now. And also, the second Amorim gets sacked and Mainoo is not good, then what? That's right. That's the question. It'll still be, look, Amorim ruined him, so let's give him time. We'll give him 6 months. We'll give him a year. If he's still not good, then what? Right? Because the best case scenario for Kobbie Mainoo is all this boils over. Amorim gets sacked. He gets his place in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, and we end up playing like what? What's it called? We end up giving him a year's time, and he's the best midfielder in the world, right? Because that's the kind of noise that's coming out of Paul Scholes' mouth. He's not even saying he's as good as Elliot Anderson. He's as good as Adam Wharton. No, the way he's coming out about this, it's like, yo, this guy is Jude Bellingham level, or like, well, to be fair, Tuchel doesn't even rate Bellingham anymore. But, he's saying he's like that such and such level, and he's way above this team, way above this manager, like WTF is happening, right? Let me get Sherpa into the show as well. Sherpa, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can. Thoughts on Paul Scholes yapping?
Yeah, no. There's one. We'll need to troll Scholes. I think it's very important. It's a very, very important part of enjoying football is to banter, and so Scholes is going to give us that opportunity. So why not take it, and then we'll be a little serious. But first, let me just say, Shaylin, you are definitely the Shaolin monk. That's for certain. You have that personality. It's so cool. It's so calm, and then you'll just do some karate moves or kung fu moves at some stage. Anyway, now Scholes is. I think Scholes, the difficulty he has, he lost all that weight after retiring from football to be better on the screen, and then just suffered for it. He just suffered.
Lost some brain mass too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He just couldn't enjoy himself as much as he thought. He wouldn't need to be training so much and stuff. And then he was looking too big on camera, and he did all that work, and so he needs to keep himself.
Also, listen, there might be some stuff about his personal life that we don't know about. I know he said he stepped away from punditry to take care of his son.
Yeah, no, I know that with his son, autistic son.
So I want to be kind to him, but also the solution to going through a difficult time is not to take it out on somebody else. We also know that, right? As you go through life, it's important, especially in moments of difficulty, you find more kindness inside you. That's how the normal reaction is, right?
Yeah.
When you go through a tough time a loved one is going through something, or you're going through something, you have to take a moment and reflect and say, who's the type of person I want to be? What's the type of stuff I want to say? And for me, that's the problem I have with what Scholes is saying. It's he doesn't want Amorim to succeed, right? The way he's talking.
Yeah, look, with Scholes, I think there's an aspect of that. There's one aspect, a global aspect with Scholes, and I think if it wasn't even Amorim, anybody, is that he seems to have no empathy for where the club is, or understanding where the club is. That it's not when he was there. You can't just decree winning. You can't. It's not a formula. You just can get the players and you say you're going to work hard and so forth. He's not taking into account the cultural problems the club has gone under. He's not. He doesn't talk about it even. Yeah, and he's also. I don't think. Look, put it in this way. Scholes was around when Pogba was there, and Pogba was essentially pushing. He didn't do what Mainu was doing, or anybody else. What would Scholes' reaction be if there was a push for Pogba to be in the midfield, like the push for Mainu? I don't think he would have found that wrong. He would have said, you get your head down and you work as hard, etc. But for Scholes, and this
you're talking about Pogba when before he went to Juventus.
Yes, before he went to Juventus, right? Yeah. Because the point was Pogba wanted to play first team football. And so Alex was saying, no, you gotta earn the space. No, hold on. But then he was playing cleverly and stuff like that. I've said that before. And I don't think Scholes would have taken kindly if there was this media push for Pogba. He would have said that would be wrong. But he won't empathize for that right now on the push for Mainu. I think Scholes is not honest. He is couching it in particular terms. The reason Scholes is going after Amorim and saying you don't know their identity, and even that is illogical. You can't. Identity is like a vision, man. You can't say identity first, and then you sort of structure and systems for this United team or the club, because you have a problem with the systems, you have a problem with the structure, and therefore you have a problem with the pathway. So you've got to do all those things before you sort out the identity. The identity is just a vision. It's how you want to play. Scholes is not honest. But Scholes' problem is Mainu can fit in his mind if you have 4-4-2.
Yeah. No, or 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. Yeah. I think Sherpa, the thing you said there, the hilarious thing is Scholes said identity, system, structure. It's actually the exact opposite. You need the structure first. You need the structure at the club first to be set up in a way where everybody knows to stay in their lane. That's why we got rid of the bomb squad first. That's why we started going and signing young players. That's why we said we're not going to pay over £200,000 for the best paid player. That's why we're trying to get rid of Casemiro. And actually, the biggest reason to maybe think about getting rid of Bruno is that he's on a very bloated wage compared to where we want to be.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So structure comes first. Then you get to system, which is enabling Amorim to do the right thing, play his football, get him his players, right? And try to build something that is sustainable over the long term. Not this, because what have we done in recent last 10 years? We'll get a Champions League football, finish fourth, 1 season, 2 seasons in a row, then drop down. 1 season, 2 seasons in a row, drop down, right? We constantly keep doing that. Whereas you look at even the Arsenal and Arteta model, yes, they've been second 3 seasons in a row, but they've been in the top 4 3 seasons in a row. That's Champions League money. That's guaranteed stuff. And the way you look at it as a club of that scale is, what can I do? Like, what are the variables that are within our control that we can impact? And then we kind of hope for the best. And then we hope the manager can get us over the line for the rest, right? And so in my opinion, the league is so competitive now. There are probably 10 teams that can get into the top 4. And if you want to call it top 5, call it top 5. Yeah. And previously, when Wenger was consistently getting top 4, it was more like, 2 teams competing for the title every year. And there were like maybe 4 or 5 teams outside of that were, hot and cold, etc. Right? We used to say it's just Tottenham lads, right? Because they used to be good sometimes, bad sometimes. So we don't have the best squad in the league. So we can't go compete for the title. In the last 10 years, the title challenges have come between the best and the second best squad. Yes, it also happens to be the best and the second best manager, but Liverpool and Man City have been the two best squads. So, ergo, they have been able to compete for the league. Now, Arteta's come in with Arsenal looking like the best squad in the league, and we'll see who ends the league like that. Chelsea spending £2
Aston
billion.
Villa's going to win the league. Aston Villa's going to win the league.
Yeah. And so we have all these problems, man, but we need to put the structure first, then the system, then the identity comes, right?
And that tells
let's
me,
just talk to let's just talk to
that tells me Scholes is talking nonsense and needs the vacation. He needs the time out. Sorry, go for it, bro.
No, I completely agree with you there, Shepa, that probably Scholes need to take a time out here. The way he has been discussing this topic so frequently, and speaking in such a what do you see, in such a flashy manner, I think it's very uncharacteristic of Scholes to come out and make such volatile statements. And I don't know, I think there's something else afoot here, like in the background, like trying to get something promoted with Kobe. And we've seen how Fabrizio has been building up players' public profiles by commenting about them during the summer transfer window. And it looks something similar is afoot here as well. Now, I don't say that for me, Scholes has obviously been the best player that I thought played for Man United in the time that I have watched the club. Maybe was one of the top two players that I really, really admired out of the
Ronaldo,
older
if
bunch.
we're talking specific seasons, like Ronaldo was like unplayable for like 3 seasons.
Yeah, that with Ronaldo, with Ronaldo, why I don't compare Scholes with Ronaldo is because Ronaldo was here not for his
prime,
for his god tier period. He was he had just started with his he was with his top tier stuff. Maybe one season to 7, 8, 8, 9, 1 or 2 seasons.
I would argue that it was 3. I would argue it was 3 seasons, and then it crescendoed with the Ballon d'Or, and then he left after that, right?
Yeah.
So it was. So I agree with you though. Like Paul Scholes gave his whole life to United. He's played. He's won 11 titles. He came back from retirement and looked like our best player, right? So there's some things that Paul Scholes has done, which is what I don't understand. It almost, he feels like he's doing a service to the club by talking shit about Amorim and saying our standards should be higher. But what he doesn't realize, like this basic thing that Jamie Carragher realizes, he knows even if he wants Slot out, if he calls for Slot to be out, it resets the project and it puts them back years.
Exactly.
That's the part that Scholes doesn't seem to understand. Even if you have beef with Ruben Amorim, if you shut your mouth about it, maybe the club does better. So if you love the club,
Andy, it's also about the thing that we spoke about. I think maybe a few streams earlier, we'd spoken about this. The ex-players, they do not have a grasp of where the team is. They are a bit delusional about where the team is right now. Delusional sounds like a very harsh word. So I would just say that they don't have a grasp of where we are. They expect, like, there's this part in the statement that is made recently. Paul Scholes has said that they sat back against Chelsea after scoring 1 goal, and Sir Alex laid into them because of that attitude. And he said, when you score 1, you go and score 2. Right now, this team does not have that same confidence nor the same skill level to actually play that aggressive. We've tried that. Louis van Gaal was primarily removed or sacked. I would say primarily maybe because he finished 5th, but with the fans, he did not have a good time with the fans because he played cautious football and he did not take risks. And we were very used to the attacking, fast, high-flying manner in which Sir Alex played. I don't know how confident the players were in Sir Alex's earlier years. But I've seen the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final. It's available on YouTube somewhere. And I don't see that same attitude, the same aggression of playing that when Man United were playing that final. They played very, very similar to how we have been playing in recent years in Europe. And that was a little bit of caution, a little bit of risk here and there, and just trying to follow the system the best they could. They weren't perfect. They didn't make perfect passes, or they didn't have like flawless runs, taking men on. It does come up in flashes, but it's not the norm in those matches, in the older matches. So that thing has taken time. It took time with Sir Alex probably to develop that in the squad, getting the right players in, and we need to give that same time to Amorim as well, to build those players in who will have the confidence, who will have the aggression, and who will bring back that attacking style of play.
Yeah. I also think we're not the biggest problem is we're not respecting the quality of the Premier League. And not just disrespecting the quality of the Premier League, but disrespecting the pace at which it's actually getting better. You compare the league today from even 3 years ago, it is night and day. It is significantly better. You look at the Sunderland team right now, that Noah Siddiqui, we're linked to him. In a few Stat Patters episodes ago, we talked about Noah Siddiqui as the underrated player of the week because he plays for Congo. Very good physicality, very good like covering distance across the pitch. Maybe not as good on the ball yet as you would want him for a top team to be. But a promoted team went out and spent 180 million pounds or whatever in the summer to go rebuild their squad. They got Granit Xhaka, they got all these players. So it's very disrespectful to the quality of the league to say, oh, we should just be dismissive. And they're still stuck in that.
Sunderland's level of spending is closer to us than our level of spending is to Liverpool. Or to Man City. Man City spent 200 million in the January transfer window. I don't know how much they've spent in the summer one, but they spent 200 plus in the January transfer window when we just got Dorgu. So that's the difference in what other teams are doing to build their teams.
And Man City can spend 100 million or close or 80 million on a player and play them maybe 2 or 3 times in the season. Wait a whole
Jack
season.
Grealish.
They did it with Grealish, 100 million. Barely played.
Yeah.
Even Guardiola, like has he shown us he's worth 100 million yet? What has he done that's been 100 million pounds or whatever? And there's no talk about it because they are a much better structure, then a much better system, and then a much better identity. Right. So this goes back to literally that's the problem, right? Listen, would I love if Scholes came out and was talking a little bit more sense? I would be his first subscriber. I would join the membership, whatever, right? I'd be the first one listening because the problem is, right, and this is just like basics of content creation. Like if you are a bitter person and you're being bitter on camera, then you're going to attract that type of crowd. You're going to attract that type of hate as well. Right? Like I think I like to think I'm very positive as a person. Then I'm also positive about the club, and that's the type of content I create. So I attract positive people like you guys to come and talk to me about it, and we have a normal discussion. Whereas if I was going to be bitter, then I shouldn't be surprised that people are bitter about what I've said. Right? That's just a basic thing. So Paul Scholes is inviting all of this onto himself. I mean, I thought the thumbnail today for this video hilarious. Right, because he's sitting on a beach. He does need some Mai Tais or margaritas or something, right? Because I'm just saying, just chill out, bro. Just take a little bit of a beat. I understand we've all got things going on in our life. I just think maybe that's what it is. He's got some bitterness elsewhere that he's taking out on Amorim, and also, I haven't seen anything from Amorim that makes me think he's a bitter guy. He's such a likable guy. Everything he does and says. So I just don't get it. But let's say hi to Mohammed since he's been waiting in the background.
Hi, Mohammed.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. You have any thoughts on what Paul Scholes has been saying?
My only thing I will have to say is that Paul Scholes, he started to become more and more very toxic guy, which he didn't need to do that. We don't need all that attention because the manager is trying his possible best. But I don't know why our ex-players, always have this toxic mindset and behaviors, more especially the British players. I don't know what's up with them. That's why I really have so much respect for a player like Ryan Giggs. you could never heard him saying something bad about United. All he does, even a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, he comes out. He said that okay, there is a storm at Manchester United, but he thinks as time goes on, the storm will calm down and Manchester United will be back to where it was. So why can't they have the patience and back the manager for him to do what is best for the club? Because everything you do at Manchester United, it's like you're under the spotlight. So, and we don't need all that spotlight because the players, they feel so much pressure that makes them not to perform well in the matches, or every single mistake a player makes him completely drain his confidence instead of him trying his possible best. That's why in this couple of weeks, I have so much respect for Diogo Dalot because he has not been playing really well. But now he was given a chance, and it's like he elevated his game to next level, even though he's not at the level we wanted for a Manchester United caliber player. So, and a player like Mason Mount, he's also trying, even though his body usually used to fail him, but he's trying his possible best. The only
Yeah.
thing I can see, I don't want it to be negative, but a team like Manchester United, in our last game we played, I have some a little bit critic on Joshua Zirkzee due to as a number 9, when you come onto the game, no matter what, if to say like a player like Chicharito, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, any other striker we do have, when a team score 4 goals as a striker, no matter what, you should try as much as you can to score a goal. But he's there laying one touch pass, doing this and that. So that's one critic I do have. And the players and some kind of players we do have at the club, they have that kind of mentality. That's why we just needed to be patient with the manager,
Yeah.
with the players, and so many things.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point, Mohammed. I think for me, the one thing that struck out to me is it's not just the impact on Ruben Amorim, right? Because Amorim, I look at him and I say, he's a grown man. He's 40 something years old. He's been through the pressures of being a player himself.
Yeah,
He has been through the abuse he got from the ultras. He had to turn that team around, right? In Sporting, he's been through a lot. So I think he can definitely handle himself. But when you're looking at some of the younger players, man, Patrick Dorgu is 21, like, Amad Diallo 23. When you have the legends constantly talking shit, there's no surprise that the players said we won't do any interviews with ex-players anymore, right? Because all they do is talk shit at every opinion they get, and it's so much gaslighting. You know what I mean? It's like somebody constantly telling you you're not good enough, and nothing you do will ever be good enough, right? And then it's like, okay, well, maybe I should just pack my bags and go home, right? Then why why am I even trying if you're gonna be this toxic towards me? And that's the part
Yeah.
that gets at me.
And that's very true, that there is a certain level of responsibility that any public person has. And Scholes knows this. At least I think he knows that if anything that he says will be considered as something carrying a lot of weight by the young players, because the players will obviously look at, even the fan base looks at them as the experts. I mean, we're just people, we are just fans talking about what we understand, but they've been there, done that. So their responsibility on what they say is much higher. And just to check, like how much research was actually done into the statement that Scholes has made. He says that the team has Man United has always played 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2, and that's been the identity. And I read this and I was sure that there was a time under Matt Busby that Sir Matt Busby played WM, and I checked like which formation did Sir Matt Busby play, and it comes up that in the 40s he started with a formation of 2-3-5, which was quite prevalent at that time. And then in the 50s he moved to 3-4-3, and then in the 60s the 4-2-4 formation took over, which was very attacking. And so it shows that the manager was adapting the formation based on the needs of the time, how other teams are playing, how the
Also,
league's
I'm pretty
developing.
sure Johan Cruyff is hailed as like one of the greatest impacts on football in like the last 100 years, right? Even Pep Guardiola is from the school of Johan Cruyff, and he hated the 4-3-3, and he played the three at the back, right?
Yeah.
That was his way of going after the four at the back formation. And that's the thing, like when I see the Amorim system, like the whole style and identity part that Paul Scholes is talking about, he's criticizing the goals that we're creating, he's criticizing us not playing with wingers. Like literally everything he says is wrong. Right? we our wing backs are the wingers. You see Dallo and Ahmad literally hugging the touchline, dude. Just you need like two. I could close one of my eyes and still see what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And you're talking about us not scoring enough goals. We are third in the league for goals scored. So what is he on about? Like genuinely, what is he on about? Because if he had some validity to anything he said, there's not one thing I can agree with him on.
And so many players across so many teams across Europe are using the three at the back. They start with a 4 on paper, but sometimes one of the fullbacks tucks in to make it a back three, or one of the CDMs drops into to the defensive line. And every team for the past 5 years at least, in attack they always play 3-2-5. So what's the problem? It's not that those people are positionally locked, right? They can move around, and they do move around in any team. So what position is displayed at the beginning of the match? That's of no significance. It's the role that you play, the responsibilities that you take on. That's what's important during the game.
The thing is this, that I think what Scholes is sort of coming from, what he's talking about identity, and where you are right, Ayush, it's recency bias. It's not that this is the identity of Manchester United. It's Sir Alex always played with fast wingers. And then to protect the Glazers in many ways, because Sir Alex did that bloody horse, Rock of Gibraltar, and that's when he supported them. He allowed he backed the Glazers buyout. And then he used to make excuses like saying there's no value in the market, and therefore they wouldn't spend a lot of money, so they could drain the club. And I'm breezing through history very quickly because I don't want to bore everybody. And so Alex then, he liked fast wingers. That's the identity. Very fast wingers. Giggs, Beckham later. He always wanted pacey wing. Kanchelskis, even before that, etc. And that's why by the time Louis van Gaal came in, he was saying, I have so many number 10s. There was too many number 10s. And he wanted to create wingbacks. And he said, if you remember Wilfried Zaha, who was the last player that Sir Alex bought, he said Zaha cannot play unless he becomes a defender. He must be so in other words, basically be a wingback. Right? He said we have too many number 10s. So Scholes has got this recency bias, and he's calling the identity basically fast pacey wingers, and he doesn't see that, as opposed to what we have is essentially 2 10s, or 9.5 10s, etc. with Mbumo and Cunha. Sorry, just forgot his name for a while.
Who exactly is the slow player?
Wingbacks.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Who exactly? And the thing is this, even with Guardiola, and remember with Sir Alex, we lost twice to Guardiola's Barcelona team in Champions League finals. That Scholes was a part. Well, the one we won, he wasn't chosen, and Sir Alex wasn't selected. Sir Alex was sad about that. But we didn't win against 2 Barcelona teams in the final that Guardiola was in charge of. We lost in the finals to them. But Guardiola's team, for that matter, is both Johan Cruyff as well as based on a WW system that came from Mexico, where you had 2-3-2-3, that to keep possession so that you can form over. And so Johan Cruyff used that WW system that came from Mexico and created this possession way of football where you interchange, etc. And the former Chilean Leeds coach, well, not Chilean coach, but I just can't remember his name now.
Bielsa was Guardiola's mentor.
and Bielsa bases his thing on that WW system. So the things that Scholes is raising is just, it's flippant, and partly with that is Scholes, in a way, seems to have gotten so used to being the center of attention, and it's not about money, and it's not about getting time on Sky and whatever, but needing to separation anxiety of nodding, have, like suddenly becoming center of attention, because he never spoke, he never said anything while he was a player, not once. He was the most boring of persons, but now being interviewed and so forth, and having nothing to do.
Well, also the club has taken away access from all of these guys, right?
Yes.
And like 2 episodes ago, Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes were trying to say, when we showed up at the club, people were asking us who we were, not like we played 400 games for the club or something. I'm like, guys, first of all, United is not just like Preston North End, right? With all due respect, right? That they always have tickets to give around. Like there's plenty of United fans of all income levels that want to come see a game, right? For me, like honestly, I'm here in Canada. The World Cup is coming here next year, and doesn't matter how much money I make, I cannot afford the tickets because you know how expensive they are.
It's cheaper to go to Old Trafford than it is to like sit in the stadium.
Exactly.
I saw
it's cheaper. And Shaylin's in America. We've got plenty of people in America here. Some of the ticket prices are like price gouging at its finest. Like you literally just want. Yeah,
they've gone up to 2,000, 2,500, something like that.
We must have a show.
Even more than
that.
Have
a show just on that. We must have a show.
There's
just on that.
So there. I was looking at some like private like suite type tickets, right? Just because those were the only ones that were available. Like the other ones are sold out, and their starting price is like $8,000 in Canada at the BMO Field. And literally, guys, nobody watches TFC. Okay, I have been to a TFC game once because I got essentially arranged some free tickets, and I sat in the whatever the private suite and watched a game. And guess what? That game was Chicago Fire versus Toronto FC, and Bastian Schweinsteiger had just moved from United to Chicago Fire. So I saw him live and I was going crazy. I was like, damn, I'm watching a United player live, because I'd never gotten to go to Old Trafford. But
there are group stage games that you mentioned.
And I just want to land this and just very quickly, is that because I do think as fans we need to give support to Amorim, and because we need the club to come out also to support Amorim and the decision they've made on their vision, because they chose Amorim knowing his system. Because I remembered what Amorim looked like after the West Ham game. And he looked like he aged. Right? I mean, I was giving him stick after the West Ham game for his substitutions and stuff like that. But he looked like he was feeling the pressure, and forget of the age and whatever, and as a grown man and stuff. But when you have this constant barraging, and now we won 4-1 against Wolves, and now you have Scholes coming with this. So there has to be some pushback to want to protect Amorim, and 2, to get them to understand the decision has been made. You're not going to change it around. Because if we don't do that, I mean, you never had a flipping Rio apologize for pushing Ronaldo down Ole's throat, which messed up that team.
I'd like to ask a question to you guys here. How much of this is a bit ego related? Because they got so much praise when they were players, versus now the only way that they can actually satisfy that is to have opinions like this. And did you see stuff like this, in the past?
Do you mean limelight driven? Because they're not getting praise for their takes right now. It's more it's about being relevant, right?
Yes, that's probably a better way to phrase it.
Yeah, that's. So I'll just give my 2 cents on it, and I want to hear from Lonray as well, because he's joined the panel here. But yeah, so I'll say, that's a wild kit. What is that? Let me see that.
Oh, no, it's Cortez. It's not even a kit. It's just Cortez.
Okay.
Yeah. But okay. I need to get a prophet badge in the Discord. Because first of all, back to the Wolves game. I told you that was going to be a high-scoring game for us. If you guys remember, I predicted 5-0. I just have to take us back to that real quick. But then, remember also, Footy, I think it was Sunday last week, I basically predicted all this would happen with the ex-players. It's going to get worse. Scholesy.
Bro, can you take a seat, please? I'm
Oh,
getting
my
dizzy
bad.
looking
My
at
bad. Sorry. Scholes, Keane, all of them, right? It's going to get worse. This is just the beginning. The only thing that's going to shut them up is Amorim doing something crazy like winning the league. The fact of the matter is they, and I'm going to go into, is it British people? Is it not? Because I think, is it Mohammed or someone else? Someone else made the comment that is it because they're British? I think they look at Amorim as an outsider and they're like, what is he doing here? Who is this guy? He's just come to mess this club up. I think British people are naturally very, very negative. And in Nigeria, like we have a sort of myth that British people are very conservative. Not in a political sense like right wingers, but culturally conservative and socially conservative.
Also,
I think,
Landre, about the British people, like I'm sorry, like any Britishers here, I'm not trying to offend you,
no,
but it seems like from the outside looking in that England would rather get to the final and lose than just go win the tournament. You know what I mean? Like they want to celebrate finishing second a lot of the times. And like have a parade for getting to the final. Like, so we need to change that mentality, and that needs to happen by having some winners. Actually, I have a lot of faith in Thomas Tuchel doing something with England because he seems to not care. He doesn't care that Jude Bellingham is this star or this diva. He's not going to stand for anything. In fact, I'll go as far as to say, if I was an England fan, I would want someone like Ryan Yates to start over Jude Bellingham if it means we can go win. Right? Because why do we care about shoehorning all these big players into the team when you've already seen a whole generation of like Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard trying to get them into the team and trying to do this nonsense, and the golden generation couldn't win anything, right? So I hear you. I just had to do a mini rant on the British. Like,
yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
But back to the whole.
I
Scholesy
think it's
thing.
mostly rage bait.
Mostly
get the-
rage bait.
Yeah,
I don't think it's rage
not
bait. I
just
think
not
it's
just
genuine.
No,
Even,
he actually
like,
believes it. He
Roy
actually
Keane
believes
and
it.
genuine.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't think
genuine.
it's
I don't
rage
think so.
baiting. I think it's
I don't
genuine, but
think
I
so.
also think I don't think it's coming from a good place. I think if you look at United, I don't think anyone can watch United and say we're playing negative football. This isn't Jose Mourinho football. This formation is, in fact, it's quite attacking. It's almost too attacking sometimes. This formation, if you
It's
actually
total
take
football, bro.
a deeper look
Total
at
football.
it. And it's just honestly, Scholes is a legend. Scholes is one of the, in my opinion, the best English midfielder of all time. It's so disappointing to see him. They say never meet your legend, never meet your idols.
Yeah.
Apparently now it's never hear them talk, ban them from podcasts because they're going on there and just tanking their reputation for no. He could have just kept his mouth shut. Genuinely, like he didn't have to. That's the craziest part about it. He didn't even have to say anything. But that's my 5 cents right now.
Yo, can you find a more light on your face because it's very dark? The light's behind you. Yeah, if you just sit facing, yeah, perfect. There you go.
Lonray's probably thinking this guy Andy, man, just telling me to stop moving.
Yeah,
I know, man.
constantly,
I'm not
stop
a streamer,
moving,
bro.
start
I'm just a
moving.
regular
Yeah.
guy.
Sammy, how you doing, man?
What's up, man? I'm good. I love this conversation. This is exactly
I
the
found
kind
you a
of
seat
conversation
right
we
next
need
to me. Awesome. What are your thoughts, man, on Paul Scholes? Mr. Yappity Yap.
I mean, he says things like, I don't think this manager gets this club, and then full stop or whatever. And to me, it's like, what exactly? We've had how many managers in the last 10 years? Like, honestly, like, when can you not say that? All that matters is like, if we win or lose, right? Like, really, that's what it comes down to. Like, if we won playing the exact same way, he wouldn't say that.
He would not be able to say anything.
No, exactly.
Look at him like
Are we counting the caretaker managers? Because it's 7, I think. If I did the math correctly.
That's without the caretakers. I think it's 7
without the caretakers.
Wow,
5.
without?
It's 5.
Yeah.
It's 5 then.
Okay. Are you sure, bro? Because we had Carrick, Nistelrooy,
No,
Ranić.
boys, Van
Like,
Gaal,
You said without the caretakers, right?
No,
Like,
I mean,
Jose,
I said
Ole,
with the caretakers, you said
Ten
then
7.
it's
Hag,
8, I
and,
think. I think it's 8.
Yeah.
Amorim now. Amorim is the sixth
Yeah,
permanent.
Here's what I'm going to say. He's the only manager who came in starting to lose and started to build up to winning. That's it. And that should
That's
be
a good sign for me, by the way.
That's like the biggest sign.
Yeah.
Every other
been
manager
waiting
got
for
their
that.
like manager bounce, and then they started tank. I don't want that anymore, man. because that's fake, right? That's like the players trying to prove to the manager, I deserve to play. The players trying to prove to the manager, like, I'm a runner, I run, I work hard, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as they get comfortable, they start to tank. With this manager was different. He came in with tactics, forcing them to use their brains, and some of them couldn't handle it. Some of them were like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And we lost a lot of games, and now they're starting to get it, and you're starting to see us play a little bit better. And guys, here's the other thing I don't understand. Why is everyone who talks about the West Ham game act like we lost? Like, I literally saw comments that say, well, if we didn't lose Everton and West Ham, I'm like, we didn't lose West Ham. So I know it felt like a loss, but it's literally being talked about like it was a loss. And those are two different feeling like a loss and it being a loss.
They're allowed to start playing better, right? Because when we look at listen, if someone wants to go banter Chelsea saying, ha, you lost to Leeds, the same team that got whipped by Arsenal 5-0, that is such a stupid comment to make because that was weeks ago. Leeds was at the beginning of the season. And then Leeds went they almost beat City, right? Last minute goal got City the win. And then they drew against Liverpool. So they came out of 3 games against City, Chelsea, and Liverpool with 5 points, right? Or 4 points. And you're looking at that saying every team in this league, perhaps outside of Wolves, is coming to go win the game no matter where they're playing. And that's not how it used to be before. So you have to respect the league and say, listen, you can't just dismiss teams, be like, oh, like, you know, because I had a Liverpool fan. This is the most hilarious story, right? This was after we had drawn to Forest 2-2. And I was talking to this guy and he was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, he's like, oh, you guys were lucky to beat Forest. And I was like, okay, you think you're going to win at Anfield? He's like, oh, we're going to smash them. 3-0 loss.
That happened to me too. My cousin, he was like, oh my God, you guys suck. I'm like, Forest is going to beat you. Watch. And they whooped them. This is the Premier League. It's not easy. It's not easy.
So, but the point I was trying to get at is that we're actually starting from the bottom and climbing to the top, whereas in other cases, we've started to look like we're already at the top and then crumble to the bottom. This is the first time where it's going the other way around. I don't know if this manager's the right one. I'm a little bit of a romantic when it comes to this manager, and I think he is the right one, but I might be wrong. And guess what? Anybody out there who thinks that the manager should be sacked and he's not the right one, he's not the one that's going to win us a title, bro, there's a 95% chance or even higher that you're right, because it's a lot easier to guess that this isn't the right one. It actually takes more bravery to come out and say, I think he's the one, because the odds of that happening is a lot harder.
So if I can ask you a question about this.
Yeah.
If you were, let's say, to talk to Scholes and say that what I am seeing today is what you had mentioned, that this is the first manager that I've seen that is building up and not necessarily starting on a high and then just falling from it. What would you be pointing to as the examples to give to him to get him to change the current opinion that he has? Because I feel like he's thinking that he's just been shit.
Yeah, he's not gonna. I don't know if I could change his mind, because Scholes has to be one of the most confident, arrogant, stubborn people in the world, because he would have never been as good as he was if he wasn't that. It's really hard. Like when you talk about athletes like this, like I'm not gonna compare Scholes to Michael Jordan, but I'm just bringing up like athletes of that level have to be a certain type of stubbornness. My best players are really stubborn, and I have to yell at them and fight with them, like as their coach. Like the easy ones to coach are not the good ones. Do you know what I'm saying? The hardest players to coach are the good ones, because they're like, I know what I'm doing. Go talk to the other guy, right?
Yeah, but Semix, even in your example, right?
I would hold on. Let me answer his question.
Yeah.
I would point out to the XG going from where it was to where it is. I would point out to the shots on target, the chances created, and more importantly, because I'm not like, look, man, at my own job, I use data and I use stats, but at the end of the day, the data and the stats are there to actually like support what I see with my eyes, not as the key like indicator and decision maker, if you will. But I would use the data and the stats like the XG, like the shots on target and things of that nature, and then show him the actual patterns. And I would show him last year's patterns with Rasmus ending up on his tail end, not being able to hold up the ball, and how that would break down from our diamond into like what happens next to what's happening this year, of how, like, if you just go watch my tactical videos, You'll see that in last year's videos, I would only be able to show about 2 to 4 passes maximum before that play ends. And then I would actually cut to me saying, he should have ran this way. The ball should have gone this way. Whereas this year's videos, I can literally show up to 9 passes before I have to cut away. We are getting all the way by the opponent's box for most cases before we make a bad pass or a bad touch or a bad shot. Whereas last year, we sometimes never even got out our own half before I have to cut to the next play. Do you get what I'm saying?
And Semi, so let me just make an even more basic argument, right? We've gone 9 games with 1 loss. In the last 9 games, we have 1 loss, and games that we don't look that good, right? Because we were pissed about the Forest game because we were leading, and then we ended up, having to get a last-minute goal to draw. In the Tottenham game, we were leading. We ended up having to get a last-minute goal to get a draw, and let's be fair, Richarlison taking his shirt off helped us. And then you're looking at the West Ham game as well. Like, we were up, and then we allowed them to come back. We are now frustrated about draws. Not about losses. That tells you that inherently this is like a subconscious thing, that we are actually less pissed than we think we are, right? And that's the thing that people are not registering. Like, listen, if we go, so we predicted 7 points in these 5 games, and we are on 7 points after 4 games, right? If we go beat Bournemouth, which I am predicting, by the way, right, we will be on 10 points, which is 1 point less than the last set of 5 games, because we got 11 points then. We went 5 unbeaten. And so I just look at it and say the reaction is so overblown, and things like Gary Neville coming out criticizing Šeško after he's had a good game.
Horrible.
Right? Paul Scholes coming out and constantly criticizing Ruben Amorim over Kobbie Mainoo. And then other people in the fan base, because the Paul Mersons of the world, those guys are just loving it, man. They've just got popcorn in their hands. Oh, okay, those guys are talking shit about United. Like, count me in. You know what I mean? So everybody wants to talk shit about United, and these guys are just like not only
our legends are giving them a platform. The people that hate us are being given a platform by the people that
Jamie
are supposed to be on our side. It's crazy.
Yeah.
If we can touch back on like me talking to Scholes, I would. And I want to talk to you guys. Basically, the way we're playing right now, right? We're creating a lot more chances. We're putting away more goals than we did last season. That doesn't mean we're taking all our chances, because we still need. Correct. We still have a lot of room for improvement, and we've already improved. The one thing that bothers me the most is that we've only had 1 clean sheet, which puts us 3rd from bottom of clean sheets. Like, we suck at keeping clean sheets. So Andy just said that he's predicting a win against Bournemouth. But Andy, I'm guessing you mean without a clean sheet. You're predicting that we score more than 1, right? And that they're going to, or are you predicting we're going to get our 2nd clean sheet ever of the season?
I actually predicted for this game we're going to get a clean sheet, because
I agree.
Bournemouth are struggling to score goals. Okay. And the way they play football is also kind of what suits us. Like, if we tend to forget that Sunderland actually came and played against us, very similar to how Liverpool play and very similar to how Brighton played. Like, Granit Xhaka was in our half trying to press Mason Mount on the left-hand side in the Sunderland game, right? So I think Bournemouth are going to do more of that, and I think we can actually keep a clean sheet in this game.
Okay, so do you think that the only reason why we got 1 clean sheet is because there was only 1 other game that we played against a team
that's not what I said. No, that's not what I said. You asked me about this game. I'm telling you, this game, I have a feeling we can do it again.
I hope we do. But my point to this is, like, I want to hear everybody on this panel tell me, why do you guys think we can only we've only kept 1 clean sheet? What position, what tactic, is it a tactic? Is it a position? Is it a player that we're going to say that, hey, if we make this change in January, we'll probably get more clean sheets for the second half of the season? That's really where I was going with the conversation. I wasn't trying to make it
a
Go for it, Shaylin. Go for it.
Yeah, I felt like last season we were a lot better defensively than we are this season. And
what's
part
the
of
reason?
that, so I think part of that was because Amorim was overcompensating the fact that he knew Andre Onana was probably the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen with my eyes play, and was like, you know what, like, if we give people opportunities and chances, like, we will probably leak and concede quite a bit. And so he didn't want to necessarily go on the attacking front. And we saw that we could not win games. We couldn't do anything. Like, we couldn't score a goal for the life of us. And you had mentioned too, just there's patterns that you could have pointed out and been like, hey, why why didn't you pass the ball here? But we wouldn't do it. And I think this season he's trying to do the reverse, right? Where he's just like, we need to make sure that, and I kind of agree with it because I saw Klopp do it at Liverpool early on as well, and I keep referencing back to him. I just wish he came to United and never went there, but whatever, bygone. But he would try to kind of win games in a way where he was looking to outscore the opponent necessarily.
lots
and
of
not necessarily
4-3s.
looking to be like
Yes.
super rigid at the back first. And why do you do something like that? It builds the momentum in the players because it gives you a better chance to win the games.
Yeah.
But two, it also gets fans on your side because they're seeing that you're at least, able to score goals, and people are going to be more upset at a 0-0 draw than they will at like,
a 2-2
draw or 2-2
Yeah.
draw. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
If I may, Shaylin, I think the second half of what you said is correct. That maybe Amorim was trying to be more defensive, but we were not a better defensive team last year, right? Because what was it, 6-5 to beat Lyon, right? And then I think one of the only games in the Europa League even that we kept a clean sheet was probably the semifinal where we like smashed. Who did we play? Was it Bilbao? That we? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
I would say,
Sammy, to
I would
answer
say
your
with the
question,
defense.
Yeah, sorry. Okay,
With
go for it, Aisha.
with the defense, I just wanted to add on the defense that I think it's a combination of maybe a lack of experience in some players and a lack of agility in others. Because there's a lot of instances when I see that when a midfielder attacks for the opponent team, we are not quick enough to close them down, and that enables them to create chances for their strikers or take a chance themselves. The goal where Dewsbury Hall scored, that was something that happened because he was not closed down quickly enough. There was another goal which happened with the Wolves game. That too happened because he was not closed down quickly enough. Mbeumo was a bit slow in following up with him. So there are instances where we can see that in those moments when there is a greater burden on our midfielders or our attackers to fall back and contribute to defense, that does not happen. And our defenders themselves, they are a bit shaky in the sense that some don't have experience and the others, they're not as good as defenders as you would expect for teams like, I mean, the only team that has consistently been getting clean sheets is Arsenal and I think Newcastle. I don't think any other team has got many clean sheets this season.
Newcastle
I think there is
like
one more team.
Newcastle have like
I'm not
two
remembering the name,
workhorses in midfield.
but these are
Bruno
all very
and
good defenders.
Lukaku.
Yeah.
So
Vinny,
let's
hear from Vinny.
Hi guys. Regarding the Scholes issue, I would want to actually treat it into actually right. Scholes as the legend and Scholes as a pundit or a podcaster. The latter one is somebody who is trying to salvage his pundit career after announcing that he is going off the screens a few weeks ago. Before this podcast, right? I don't think a lot of United fans knew about this platform that Scholes sat on. So he has successfully actually getting them the traction that they wanted, right? Scholes is now trying to build a career within punditry or whatever he's doing after his career, right? So I think that's how we are supposed to treat it. We are supposed to actually, disregard that ex-player, kind of sentiment from Scholes, because I've seen a lot of ex-players, also Roy Ferdinand, giving him backup on what he said. This is something that they actually start, like it's a fire they set, right? It was Gary Neville who started hammering on our system.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the season, right? That's where the negative fan base started. Yeah, he needs to go.
Not United. It's not United.
It's not United. Yeah. What's the name? international break is coming. We need to find a new manager. It's a lie that is said, right? Paul Scholes know that Bournemouth is a banana skin. And the last time that we won against Bournemouth was 2003. Why don't I just throw this out and see the traction that I get?
No, 2023, you mean?
Yeah, 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard.
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we haven't been
Sorry.
here 22 years.
Sorry.
No. To be fair, that's what I heard you. I heard you say 23. I heard it. You're good.
Yeah. So
Vinny, can we so Semix asked a question about why we are conceding more goals, right? Let's come back to the Paul Scholes topic, because absolutely want to hear from you there. One thing I will say while you were talking, because you said Paul Scholes the player and Paul Scholes the pundit, this might sound harsh, but Paul Scholes the player, I would argue greatest midfielder in the Premier League, or in the top 3 conversation for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely greatest midfielder that's played for United. Paul Scholes, the pundit, is probably a League One player. Okay, so let's just put it out there. Or I don't even know if he's in the top 92 teams, right, playing, because that's how basic his analysis is. So let's park that right there, and let's talk about the why we're conceding goals, right? And I just have some stats to share with the panel, and then I want to hear from Vinny, and we can go to Landre as well.
Before that, I just like to correct myself for the viewers. There are actually quite a lot of teams with. I just checked. There are quite a lot of teams with clean sheets. At least 10 have 4 or more. This season.
And
so
to be fair, though, if we had 4 clean sheets, guys, we'd be in the top 3, probably top 2.
Yeah.
If we had 4 clean sheets instead of 1, we would be in the top 2 probably. I'm top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
So you guys can keep that in mind. That's why I brought up this discussion. The more I look at the data, the more I go, why are we so bad at clean sheets?
Guys, can I go on this point, because I've been waiting with the stats ready. So my point is, we, despite the lack of clean sheets, expected points has us 3rd in the league, right? I don't think any one of us here cares if we concede all 38 games and go win the league. Okay, so hold on, Semix. I'm right about this. I don't think we care about.
Has that ever happened? I would love to know. But has that ever happened in the history of the league? Has somebody ever conceded? No, in every game?
Hello. Before Leicester won, they had never. Nobody like that had ever won the league, right? So my point is that we shouldn't fixate on just the clean sheets. We should fixate on what the team is creating and what it's letting go. Right. And right now, on balance, what Amorim is doing in terms of the system is, for me, good enough. And the second thing I will say is us not having clean sheets, or us conceding too many goals. If you look at the league in terms of the top teams, right? Let me just get some of the stats here. If we look at the top 6 teams, right? We're 6th right now on the table. Arsenal has 12 xG against. They've conceded 9 goals. City has 16 xG against. They've conceded 16 goals. Villa in 3rd, 22 xG against. They've conceded only 15 goals. So they are significantly overperforming defensively, and they're also significantly overperforming on an attacking sense. That's why they're where they are. Okay, I don't care if they're shooting from outside the box. You tell me, Semix, you said, has any team won by not keeping any clean sheets throughout the league? Has any team won by just doing long shots? Right? That doesn't happen. You have to create good chances from inside the box too. Crystal Palace, underperforming on the attack, massively overperforming defensively. So we're the only team in the top 6 that are actually underperforming defensively and on the attacking sense. Now, you ask me why from 19 xG we have conceded, or from 20 xG we've conceded 22 goals. For me, it's down to the system execution, right? Football is a zero-sum game. Right? If your attack isn't good enough, you tend to overcommit on the attack to make something happen, and that leaves you more exposed on the defense. Right? So if we have 30 xG as well. We've scored 26 goals. I would argue if we had scored 4 more goals, we probably also concede 2 or 3 less goals. Because all of these chances that we're conceding to are coming from when we miss our chance.
And you can see that.
The counterattack.
You can see that. Yeah.
Sorry. So then, as a follow-up, if we were the board right now, if this is a board meeting, okay, and Andy presents this argument, but as a board, though, that argument sounds to me like, all right, well, if you're going to focus on XG, then maybe in January we should buy a finisher. Do you see that? If you're saying we should score more goals, hold on, Andy, because if this was a board meeting and that's the data you put up, that's kind of where you're trying to steer the vote to. Let's say we're taking a vote.
Also,
after
I
this
would
meeting
sack the
as to,
board
like,
member who suggests that, because that's not how football works.
Okay,
right?
so then
we already
so
got
then why are
finishers in
we
the team.
talking about finishing our chances? Let me put it this way: how do we fix this team? How because January is coming up. I don't even I don't care what Paul Scholes has to say, because honestly, we all think it's BS, right? Like we all think like he's knee-jerk fan base. I don't know your name, but knee-jerk fan base was saying Vinny was saying, and Vinny made a great point that dude's own mission in life right now should be probably to grow his podcast, right? Like that dude just started a new podcast, which is Scholes. He started a new podcast, and what's the best way to grow your podcast? Say some outlandish-ish and get people to talk about it. Right.
Okay,
and that's what we're
Semix, you asked me a question, right? Before you go any further, I just want to address your question, which is how do we make this team better?
Yes.
So the other set of stats that I wanted to cover, Senna Laumans entered this team in the Sunderland game. Okay, that was the 7th game of the season. We have now played 15 games. So in the 9 games that Laumans has played, we are 4th in the league. We have conceded 11 goals from 11 xG. So also a big reason for us sort of doing what we're expected to do is that the defense has gotten better, because the goalkeeper also inspires more confidence. Before that, we had a bunch of idiots that we picked up off the street playing in defense.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm telling you so there's 2 ways to look at it. One is, what can we do in January to improve the team? 2 is, I actually think just like the team has gotten better from the first few game weeks to now, even if we stay with the same team, we will be better than we're playing now by the end of the season, because the players will have adapted to the system a lot better. So do I think we're going to keep conceding as many goals as we are? No, I don't. Even if we don't bring in any new players, right? Now, can we improve beyond where we are in terms of our averages of like how many we can score and how many we can defend? No. We need new players to do that. But I actually think that the team will keep getting better. Because listen, this whole time in 15 games, how many games has Sheshko played? He's been injured out for long. How many games has our front 3 that we spent 200 million on played together? That's the thing I'm saying. Like we can't. Yes, I agree we need new players, but also we haven't even seen this team in its full form play together. And now we're going to miss 2 of our most important players for AFCON. So there's a lot of stop-start stuff that's been happening to the team and how we play, which is also resulting in how we're performing. Despite all that, we're still 3rd for expected points. So, that's the kind of point I'm trying to make. Like, yes, we're conceding too many goals. It's a problem, but we have to give Amorim some credit for what he's doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy, I would completely agree that Laumans is probably a big factor in the number of goals that we've avoided conceding in the games after the Sunderland one. And who knows, maybe with the first game of the season, we don't concede that goal and we actually go in and finish one in the end. And Arsenal go back home crying. We get the opening games bounce. And then we're the ones who are actually on top of the table. We have something to build up on.
Okay.
But that didn't happen. And right now, what's happening is something that I see as maybe half-baked. I would say our defense is half-baked. And it does not mean that the defenders themselves are at fault. It is probably a lot more contribution that's required from the midfield, from the attack, like players dropping back and contributing more rigorously in defense.
Guys, sorry, we have a super chat that I missed. So let me just read it out. Devo66 says, with Licha coming back in Amorim system favoring center backs to help and build up around the center line, I think he meets the midfield. Do you think it'll help take some burden off of our midfield? Lanre, since you were talking, why don't you address that?
Yeah, that technically goes into what I was going to give as the reason we've considered so many goals, because this Amorim system, first of all, it's a system that it requires you to be at the top of your game in a lot of aspects. In your passing, everybody in every position needs to be good at everything. That is the requirement of almost all modern day footballers. So, for example, like you made the video about De Ligt and Heaven being a better progressive passer than De Ligt is making Heaven look like, is he better for this team? I know there's some people thinking, should Heaven be benching De Ligt? Despite the fact that De Ligt also has his qualities. So this Amorim system, it puts a lot of weight on you being your best. And yes, as a United player, I need you to be good at as many things as you can be. So with the way our defense is now, where we've been playing Luke Shaw, who's a converted left back, Euro, who's not used to this front three, to this back three. Mazraoui has looked better in the back three than Euro, for God's sake. De Ligt, who isn't that much of a progressive passer. You can see a lot of holes in the way Amorim wants to defend. Now, I think, with some of the changes that we see Amorim implement over time, getting used to the players, Licha coming back, we're going to see a much different team. I don't think you guys are ready for it. And to answer Semix's question real quick, because, time and all that, the only thing we can do right now to improve our defensive situation is to get a replacement for Casemiro. Casemiro is a great player, wonderful, reads spaces well, but his legs are just not there. I want you guys to look at the West Ham game. Did you see that Diomande dude? He was everywhere. Dude was making tackles all the way at their goal line and was getting goals. He also scored the goal in their box. He was everywhere. That's the kind of CDM that Amorim needs in a way. But it's a temporary fix, because I also think someone like Elliot Anderson, who isn't exactly everywhere, but he has a high defensive contribution while contributing.
You mean Magasa, right, from West Ham? That's what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I think it was Magasa. Yeah, the dude that scored. He was everywhere.
Magasa.
If we had that guy, I'm not saying it would necessarily be better, but I think a lot of the goals we considered where we can see, obviously, there's someone that's supposed to be here from the midfield. I think Magasa is going to be there. So as a team makes this question, if you want to show up, the board wants to show up, defensive solidity in January, go and get a Magasa, and just that's literally, I think that's like half the goals. Half goals.
So Semix was live just before our show. I'll come to you, Vinny, in a second. Semix was live just before the show, and we had the same conversation on his channel where, I think Sean was like, what is the one position that you would want to fix, or Semix asked, one of you guys asked it, and we talked about the right center mid, and that's a conversation we've had here for such a long time, because I think the two positions we can look at as clear, open nets for the board to go fix is right center mid and left wing back. Right? Yeah. Those are the two positions that we want to go fix. And also, God knows what we look like with AFCON coming up, right? With all those players leaving the team as well. And let's not forget, I thought actually, based on how things are going a few weeks ago, that we would be, it's only Ahmad and Mbumo that we need to worry about. Now, Mazraoui's coming to the team, and he's been our best right center back, and I'm like, holy hell, what are we going to do?
De Ligt, I think De Ligt's going to play there, by the way. I think he's going to play there. Yeah. He's going to move to the center.
For sure. Vinny, I want you to try to help us understand how this team will get better, and we can come back to the Paul Scholes talk as well. But in your opinion, how can we get better? And I actually want to hear Semix's answer after that on what he thinks we can do to become better in both scenarios, whether we buy players and without buying players as well.
Okay, thank you, Andy. I think, as we all know, this system actually demands a 1v1, right? Yeah. And this is something that I actually watched on Semix's video a while ago, whilst one sporting guy was actually explaining, the way Amorim systems operate. So, the right centre back actually needs to have the courage. The left centre back also needs to have the courage to always step in when you need to press. Once you actually hesitate to do that, you have created a space for the opponent to exploit. And I think that is where we are actually lacking, as far as the Amorim system is concerned right now.
So, because can you expand that just for a second? You saying courage?
That, by the way, he's also said something related to that.
What do you mean by courage in particular to step up? Is it
all right?
Where in the?
Okay, so
where
the courage, the courage of the LCB and the RCB to step in midfield when they need to actually track their men. So I'll give you an example, right? We've seen a couple of actions from Luke Shaw this season. I don't know if you do remember one of the actions from Luke Shaw. He actually tracked from defensive from our field. and actually won the ball from the field, like in the half of Wolves, right? And I won't take you back. I'll just take you back to Brighton. You see where Luke Shaw actually won the ball?
Yeah, for
on
the
fourth goal?
Mbumo goal. For the
Exactly.
Mbumo goal, yeah.
Yes, these are the things that actually is expected of the RCB and LCBs. You have to be brave. You have to know that whilst I'm stepping in, I have people behind me who can actually cover me up. And I think it takes time to actually get the telepathy in there.
Vinny,
because,
one
guys,
second, if I may just add on that, I've also seen Delict while he was playing center back jump up, right? So actually, all three center backs need to have the courage. It's probably more often the left and right center back that need to do it. Also, Amorim has in some games, especially when we play a 4-2-3-1 and they have a number 10 in the middle, he's had one of the left center back or right center back do a man marking job on those 10s, right? When we played Tottenham, Xavi was getting man marked by Luke Shaw. When we played Brighton, Ruder was getting man marked by Luke Shaw, right? So we have sort of, it's not that, this person only does this, right? There is some flexibility on what they can do as well, but I'll let you finish and then we'll go to semis.
So you need to actually follow your man everywhere, on the pitch. One thing that I want to actually highlight is Casemiro's hesitance in pressing forward. Dude doesn't believe his legs anymore, so he's much more hesitant in pressing forward. Out of the two, Bruno and Casemiro, Bruno presses more upfield than Casemiro does. Sometimes it requires him to do that, but he doesn't, which actually creates a bit of space for the opponent. So if you've heard the negative people, they're like, yeah, we have a bit of gaping space in our midfield, which we need to fix. It's as a result of not having the courage or the brave to actually press forward. So that's my small opinion on that. And if the therapy actually increases, guys, this system is very meticulous. It's not like your 4-2-3-1s or your 4-3-3s. It demands, I think, Lan, I hope I got your name right. He said you need to be on your toes. You have to be constantly aware of your surroundings, right? You have to always, be on top of it. You have to be aggressive. And that's the reason why Amorim has preferred playing De Ligt ahead of Maguire. Did you see the goal we considered from Brentford when Maguire was playing the CCB? He hesitated to actually press Igor Thiago. So he gave him the space to think and the space to actually move the ball and also shoot. So it's all around the pitch, right? We need to press and press better. And I think by doing that, we can actually, improve on our clean sheet system.
Yeah.
So
Good
can
point,
I
man.
ask you
Well
a
said,
follow-up
well said.
question with what Andy asked because of what Vinny said? Is this a player profile thing, or is this the team has not necessarily been able to adapt to this pressing mentality or this way of pressing?
For me, it's both, right? Because we can actually take De Ligt, for example. De Ligt has the Ajax school of thought of playing football, right? For them, it's all about pressing. And whilst even Mazraoui, right, for at times also tries to press a bit into the middle because they all got the same education that you always have to be on top of your man. You don't have to give your man the space.
Sorry, Vinny, can we go to semis because I wanted to hear his thought. He started this question like 20 minutes ago, and I want to hear from him what he has to say. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, go for
I
it.
am going to say that Vinny is on point on everything he said. Vinny is speaking truth. The thing about this tactic, this strategy, whatever you want to call it, is that everybody does have to be very smart and aware of their surroundings. You cannot sleep for a second because if you do, you're leaving your teammates basically to have to cover for you when they're already busy doing their own assignments. Everybody has assignments. And you can switch off. I don't mean off mentally. I mean, you can switch assignments. You will see someone like Luke Shaw tracking someone all the way upfield and even more central or all the way to the other side of the field to our right. And then your row will pick that person up and then Luke can go back to his own zone. Yes, you will be rotating zones. You will see our center back sometimes go to the right and someone from our left will have to fill in the center and the whole team will have to adjust. You have seen Ahmad go all the way up and then Mbumo have to play like the wing back and track back and actually stop counters. You will see that all over the place. That doesn't happen unless you're switched on, awake and aware of not only where the opponent is, but what your teammates are. That's what makes this system hard. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say everything I'm going to say, but I want you to know that the underlying thing is that I back Ruben and I believe in his system and I love his system, but I'm about to say some things that make it sound like I don't. But stick with me here and I'll get to my point. We play in the Premier League. We don't play in Portugal, so you have even less time to think. In a system and a tactic that already requires a lot of thinking, you have to do your processing even faster. Your CPU has to work even faster in this league than it worked in Portugal. And it was already a complicated system that requires a lot of thinking. So yes, some players are never going to be able to adapt. Some players are never going to, they're just not bright enough. I'm sorry, that's just how things are. Just because you're the most athletic doesn't mean you're the smartest. Some players just need that extra second or two. Some players can leave the Premier League, go to another league, and look like amazing players. There's a reason for that. Okay, so not only that, but some players in the Premier League are going to look better in other teams. And that's not because Ruben Amorim couldn't figure out how to get the best out of them, which is the biggest BS line I've ever heard. Oh, if a good manager can get the best out of them. Well, if getting the best out of them means sacrificing my own system and tactic, maybe I'm not willing to do that, right? Because maybe system and tactic comes first for me if I'm that type of manager. Because guess what? Pep Guardiola never adapted for a player as long as it didn't interfere with his system or his tactics. Then he would adapt a little bit, but not totally completely change everything. Now, people like Jarvis, who's actually in the chat, saying things like, it's also Ruben's fault that we're defensively a little bit susceptible. And that's true because the system requires all these things we just said. The system doesn't have an extra midfielder to cover for you if you happen to be a little bit slow or a little bit out of position. Yes. So yes, the system is the cause for some of the defensive susceptibilities, but that doesn't mean that I don't like the system or I don't like Ruben. I do. Now, if part B of the question that I'm supposed to answer is how do we do even better without recruiting players? I don't think I need to answer how do we do better with recruiting players, because I think that's obvious. I think Vinny did a great job explaining that, and everybody knows what we need to do in recruitment to play better. But without recruiting players, how do we do better?
Semi, sorry to cut you off there. 1 second. Guys, we have 140 people watching and only 66 likes. Please drop a like on the stream. And, that really tells us that you're enjoying the conversation and we should keep going. So if we do get to 100 likes or more, I'll keep it going for another half an hour. Okay. That's our gift to you, because not just mine. Shailen's been here for a long time. Semik's been here for a long time. So please smash the like button, man, and help us out. But Semik, please continue.
So how do we get better results without recruiting any more players? Unfortunately, and fortunately for Andy, he was right in the beginning when I first joined the stream, not the beginning of the stream. I joined a little bit late. But Andy brought up the point that if we would have scored more goals, we would have probably conceded less and or got more points. And right now with the crop that we have, especially with the right center midfield problem that we have and the legs that we have and the wing back issues that we have, I don't think we're going to find a solution to stop conceding goals unless we change the system and tactics. And that's what Jarvis is here to talk about, which I do want to hear from him, by the way, because he's got very good points on how the system itself is leaving us susceptible. And he's right, but we're not going to change the system, in my opinion. So we've got to start to finish our chances. And that's why most of my videos, I talk about how we're making mistakes in the final third. And people ask me all the time, how come you don't bring up our pressing or our defensive shape? Because I don't think it's going to get any better. Like, I just don't. With this current crop, until we make some changes, I don't think that's going to get a whole lot better. Don't get me wrong. We might have incremental improvements, but no one's going to make Casemiro run faster or think faster. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. They are who they are. They've already got these habits ingrained because they're older players. They're going to be who they're going to be. They're not going to suddenly, you know how they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks? There's kind of that going on here. So we're going to have to start.
Well, you also can't give an old dog new legs. I mean, unless there's some surgery I'm not aware of. Yeah.
We're going to have to either finish our chances or hopefully we're going to have to get the board to back this manager and get him some new legs in midfield.
Yeah, I agree. I want to say, Jarvis, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you here. We haven't spoken before, so this is our first time meeting as well, and maybe
Big up,
some
Andy.
of the folks here as well. First time seeing you. So, what I would say is, first of all, if you haven't checked out Semix before, go check out his channel. If you haven't checked out Jarvis from Tactical Devils, go check out his channel as well. But thank you guys for being here. Go on, man. Introduce yourself. Just for the first time viewers, and give us your thoughts on what we're discussing here.
Yeah, I'm Jarvis. I have my own channel, Tactical Devils. But first of all, thank you, Andy, for having me on, and Samix and all the rest of you guys on the panel. And the chat, guys, smash the like, give Andy 100 likes. That's at least the least you can do, with a brilliant panel like this. But when I talk about football, I mentioned this. So I was on Samik's channel an hour ago. I talk about the importance of rhythm and tempo, and what I feel when it comes to this Amorim system, we don't have the right rhythm and tempo. We don't know when to slow down the game, when to take a breather, and that's why I feel the system now is it's unsustainable. The problem is we gas out after, let's say, 25-30 minutes in games. We saw it against Wolves, and we play with this high intensity, and that's why we have players who's not suited for this Amorim system. Amorim has changed his style after coming from Sporting to Man United. Defensively, his counter-attacking setup defensively was always the 3 centre-backs and the 2 DMs holding. So we had 5 guys in defense, and we attacked with 5. We all talk about Ticos, the MW shape. But when Amorim plays Bruno in this system, in the number 8, we always revert into the 3-1-6. And I feel we are back to the Ten Hag days. We are leaving Casemiro exposed. We have the big gap centrally in the midfield. And when Bruno overcommits in pressing high, he gets overrun and the opposition starts carrying the ball.
Sorry, Jarvis. 1 second. Shaylin says if we get to 100 likes, he's going to gift 5 memberships. So you guys, all you selfish buggers that are not dropping the like, okay? If you want the membership, you have to drop the like. But anyway, Jarvis, please continue.
Yeah, I was just saying now we're seeing the 3-1-6 formation, and we see the big gap always. And
Jarvis,
that's okay.
A quick question, Jarvis. Are we attacking enough with that formation 3-1-6?
Well, the problem is, I think, is the rhythm and tempo when we do this, because I feel we play with such high intensity, and we all knew this when Amorim came in. He's about directness, it's about intensity, it's about verticality. He wants to go direct, but it's all about when to do it. Now we're constantly doing it, but we never take a breather. And I think this is new from the Man United Amorim if you compare it to the Sporting Amorim system. And this is the problem he needs to fix. I know it's multi-layered. It's not just about Bruno, but I think that's the most important part to fix first. We all talk about the
Jarvis,
centre-backs.
If I just may, I think you made some very good points. From what I'm seeing in games, right? Like just from if I just had to visualize a Man United game playing out.
Mm-hmm.
I see 3 specific positions with slightly different reasons causing us big problems for the tempo, for the overcommitment, for the gassing out that you just mentioned. And so the first problem that I see is the left wing back role. A lot of times we make such poor decisions in that area, right? Not consistently, right? Because sometimes Dalot will have a good game. Rarely Dorgu will have a good game in the final third, but they'll get into that position. So what tends to happen is we'll do so much work, we'll put so much effort into trying to get into that area to create a chance, just to lose the ball and then have to track back. And it's a lot of helter-skelter from a mental perspective too, right? They're like, oh, God damn it, like that guy again, right? Or that guy's just lost the ball. And then we have these 64-year-old midfield trying to, do their best to track back. And that's why they're gassing out. I feel like they're constantly trying to make up for mistakes made by other people. And, this is what's happening. And this was even more so last year, right? Because Højlund kept losing the ball, right? The ball wouldn't stick to him. Or we'd go through a good phase in the game, we wouldn't score, and then Onana would make a dumb mistake and we would go 1-0 down, 2-0 down. So I think also from a mental perspective, it's very deflating when you have the left wing back making those mistakes, or sometimes, let's be honest, Cunha just running into 4 players and losing the ball, right? Because he's been doing that a lot this season. And then if I want to focus on the second issue, which is imagine you play 60 minutes of a game where you have 60 minutes worth of fuel in the tank, and then you are already being rushed to do more things than you can even do. So now you spent all the 60 minutes of fuel in 50 minutes, right? And now you're sitting in that last 10 minutes, and maybe you have to even play the last 40 minutes, right? So Casemiro, when he plays a full 90 minutes, he's already out of gas in the 50th minute because he's had to cover for Dorgu, had to cover for Dalot, had to cover for Cunha giving the ball away. And so that's what I think it is. I actually think Casemiro and Bruno, their legs problem or them running out of gas doesn't stand out as much if we stop making dumb mistakes on the ball and we just execute the system better, right? I actually think that's happened now so far. I want
to add on to what Andy's saying here, because the one thing by the way, Shaylin just did the 5 gifted memberships, guys. So
did the 5 gifteds.
Yeah, great job getting the likes to over 100, guys. We do appreciate it. Even all of us on the panel appreciate it. It lets us know that this is an interesting conversation and to keep going. So thank you for liking and interacting with us. But I do want to add on to what Andy was saying. The one thing that I kept thinking about while Andy was talking was like, wait a minute, if we're going to, this is why it's even more important that we don't have silly loose passes, because a silly loose pass just ends up more equating to more running. A silly loose pass, and this is, sometimes like I'll get mad at Bruno even though he's our best player, guys. I'm not saying he's not our best player, but I'll get mad at Bruno on those games where he just keeps making those silly Hollywood like loose passes, and you're just like, bro, now here goes a counter attack, and now we all have to run again, and we have a limited amount of sprints in us per game. And like Andy was saying, like if you have 60 minutes in you, but now you're making more sprints per minute than you plan to make because you're having to cover, you're running out of gas in the 45th, 50th, or 55th minute. The other thing is, this is what it costs us when you don't have a midfield destroyer. This is what it costs us when you don't have someone better than Casemiro who's got quicker legs, who can destroy opponent's counterattack really early. That's why early fouls are actually not a bad thing, because it stops us from having a sprint. Yeah. It's not a bad. And these are the things we never even think about. Like, wait, that early foul stopped them from getting a counterattack. Yay, good job.
United have also played too clean. Always.
Played too clean, exactly. But also that early foul just helped a couple other players not have to sprint anymore. They can walk and relax now. And those little breaks that Jarvis was talking about. Now, Jarvis wasn't talking about it in that sense. Jarvis was talking about it in maybe holding possession a little bit longer, passing it around, not being so up and down all game. But that's what a destroyer does for you. A destroyer slows down the game for you. Someone who's faster than Casemiro, that as soon as the other team's about to counterattack, he's already stepped in and win the ball back or cause a foul, is buying you a break, is buying you a breather.
So Semix,
to
then add on or to ask you a question on what you just mentioned about it, destroyer helps you stop the games. Put it in the same situation. We're not going to get a player or whatever, and with the current crop of the team, where is that who's then supposed to handle this management of the game that Jarvis is mentioning too? And like Jarvis is reflective on it too, if he has one, is it somebody like Bruno that's supposed to be dictating this tempo, or is it somebody else inside of the team that we need to ask to step up?
In an Amorim system, I would say that some of the center backs have to take some of that responsibility too. It's not just the midfielders. The center backs have to take responsibility of setting the tempo too, and knowing when to try to make line breaking passes and when to just kind of keep it back there for a little while and give everybody a breather before they decide to go forward. But yes, Bruno is the captain, and Bruno should be letting people know when and when not to do that, even if it's not him individually with the ball doing that. Do you get what I'm saying? Just by making hand gestures. And you see him trying to do that sometimes, where he tells people like, slow it down or
I also think Semix low key, Mason Mount has been a big influence on setting the tempo, because he knows when to release the ball and when not to release the ball. And even in the Wolves game, there were a lot of times where Bruno and Dalot are behind him and he's waiting for them to catch up before he releases the ball, so that he's giving them a better platform to succeed. Whereas maybe Cunha's been, guilty of not releasing the ball quick enough, which ruins the tempo for other players. But I also want to hear from Jarvis after you finish your points.
I will go on as far as saying on the ball, Mason Mount's game against Wolves was the best he's had all year. And I hope that continues, and it's not just because it was Wolves. He was amazing when we were in possession.
Yeah. Rishi just said if we get to 150 likes, he's gifting 5 more memberships. So let's go. All right, Jarvis, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about this in Samix's channel, but I feel also when it comes to the offensive play, Bruno is not the conductor. He's not the guy who sets the tempo. Bruno tries, but he doesn't know how to slow down the game. Sometimes he puts his stud on the ball and he just stands there and waving his arms because he wants everybody else to move in the perfect Bruno position. And Samix mentioned he's sloppy on the ball. Sometimes he's too loose on the passes. We saw it in the 87th minute against Wolves. He gave the ball to Mainu, fully surrounded around 3 guys. It was a short pass. And he's not good at this. It's not his strong side. I see this Amorim system now more leaning towards the Liverpool Jurgen Klopp type of football. We are chaos.
Just to add on to what Jarvis is saying, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but just to add on what Jarvis is saying, on the Portugal team, Bruno's not the tempo setter. Just to let you guys know, it's Vitinha sets the tempo on that team, not Bruno. Bruno's great at what he does, but tempo setting isn't his strong suit.
No, but also on the Portugal team, like he runs that team in the sense that, he doesn't have to do as much in the middle third or the defensive third, like he might have to do in other teams, but everything in the final third goes through him. Like if you guys watch
what you were saying really is though he's the creator in that team. He is the creator. He's not the tempo setter.
Yes.
So where I was going is now I see the Man United team is leaning more towards the Jurgen Klopp type of football. We are direct, we are more chaos than control. We are not the Pep Guardiola Manchester City side that's really in control, keeping possession all the time. And I thought that we were going to be a little bit in between those type of styles when we brought in Amorim, but now we are leaning towards the chaos type of style with Jurgen Klopp. And we all remember the first couple of years under Jurgen Klopp when he played this heavy metal football, and it was all about transition all the time. But then he had Milner, he had Henderson in that midfield, and they didn't have the capabilities to play and be the tempo setters. But as soon as they brought in was it Fabinho, who was the sitting DM, and they had players like Thiago, for example, brilliant on the ball, could give them the so-called pausa, or what they call it, the break. And when we upgrade our midfield into these type of players, I think we can do better. But at the current moment, we are like Liverpool first year on the Jurgen Klopp. It's heavy metal football and there's no breaks, and that's why this football at the moment is not sustainable, because players will gas out because no one has the engine to keep this intensity.
Jarvis, isn't that the United way? Isn't that the United way?
But the modern football, the tempo has risen by 20% since 2020 in the Premier League, so everything goes faster, and we can't compare 2000s and the 1990s with the current game.
Jarvis,
So
I have a question for you. Sorry, Vinny,
about
1 second.
Okay.
A quick question for you. Are you saying you don't think the system should be played at the tempo regardless of what players we get in, or are you saying if we get the right players in, then we can play at this tempo?
Well, what I was saying is when you look at Ruben Amorim, it's about directness. It's situational. It's not constant. And the system of Amorim can be direct, but not direct by default. So this is what I'm saying. We got to find the right situations to go direct.
If I may interject a little bit.
Yeah.
When Ruben first came in and he was trying to implement his system, Jarvis is 100% right. We won the possession battle for almost every game, even though we lost games. Ruben's system is supposed to be, in an ideal world, both direct and possessional at the same time. No, pick and plan your points and then go direct. And then when it's not there, keep the ball until you move the opposition team out of shape and then once it's out of shape, go direct again and find those holes. The problem is, I feel like we made that change, like Jarvis was saying. We made that change to being more direct more often because the squad wasn't smart enough to open up gaps and penetrate through those gaps. And I think we're finding much more success in games, hence why we've only lost 1 in 9 once we started going more direct. So Jarvis, do you, like Andy was saying, I'm going to give you that question again, but with those facts now in the mix, don't you think that maybe we'll go back to playing that different way, that way where we're a little bit more heavy on possession and directness, a mixture of both, once he gets more players that fit his style?
Yes, I believe so. But at the current stage, we don't have the right personnel. I think a lot of these players don't have it. But I'm not just blaming the two central midfielders. It's also about the
wide players, the wide players too.
It all comes down even to the goalkeeper and the centre back. When we play out, we want to set the trap, we want to attract the opposition, we want to go on one side, set up the diamonds, and then go long or direct to the number 10s or play a vertical pass. So it's so many levels. But I think the first thing we need to fix is to get one guy in the midfield who can set the tempo and sometimes slow it down a little bit, because as I see in the current stage, we will keep struggling against other teams because of this for the rest of the season.
So Jarvis, sorry, Shailen, just quickly, I just want, this is an interesting point that Jarvis has raised, and I also appreciate the fact that it is perhaps a constructive criticism of the Amorim system with substance to back it up, not just I don't like it, like Paul Scholes is saying, which is the title of the show, right? So I appreciate that, and what I would say is, to me, it seems like I want to make the distinction between the treadmill being on 15 speed and our team not being able to run on it, versus I actually think the treadmill is on 7 and we can't even run at 5. You know what I'm saying? I actually don't think, like the Jurgen Klopp, the first year of Jurgen Klopp was treadmill on 15 and the teams can't even do like 5 or 7, right? And they were like trying to like hold on by the skin of their teeth. So many games they actually lost 4-3 as well, as many as they won 4-3. This last year, we were a team that couldn't even walk on the treadmill, and we were trying to go 7 or 8. Now I think Amorim's looked at it and he said, maybe we dial it down to 5 or 6, and the level of the team has also come up. So that treadmill point that I'm making is actually very true for Casemiro, because sometimes you'll see him beat a player by reading that he's going to come, and then his legs just won't get him that 5 yards before the other player, right? Like we saw that against Palace a lot. Like Casemiro has had probably his worst half in a United shirt in the first half against Palace. And that's what I noticed a lot. So I actually think, the right profile of player in our team to play that right center mid is Ugarte with some of Casemiro's skills on the ball. You know what I'm saying? Because then he can be the destroyer. He can have a lot more tempo to the team, but he can also not just play hot potato with the ball. And that's part of the problem that we have. It's like the people who have legs in this team are not good enough on the ball. The people who are good enough on the ball are not, don't have legs. So it's a profile thing more than anything, instead of just, in my opinion, that the pace is too fast for the system.
So then the question I was going to ask you guys was, who do what qualities in a player then are you in a prioritized list going after? Like if you had to pick, the player, like we have 5 traits, you get a player that can only have 3. What are the top 3?
Vinny, what were you going to say though? We'll answer that question too. Vinny, I knew you were waiting to say something.
Yeah. I wanted to say that back to Paul Scholes again. He said that he does not actually recognize the Man United way in this team, right? But guys, I think I have a crazy shout here. I think this is a Man United way, because United has always been a tempo team, a counter-attacking team. We've never been a possessive-based team, right? This is how we've always played under, say Alex Ferguson. It was our good wingers, 2 tops, just on the transitional play. So I struggle to really understand the likes of Paul Scholes and also the legends, who continues to say, I don't see United in this team. I don't know what they want to see first before they can recognize United is in that team. That's what I wanted to actually point out.
I want to add on to what Vinny's saying, because I also agree that Manchester United has always been a high risk, high reward team. That's what I fell in love with. I fell in love with a high risk, high reward team filled with a lot of talent. Unfortunately, we're high risk, high reward, but not filled with a lot of talent right now. And that's just it. Like, I don't, just like Vinny's saying, I don't understand what Scholes is saying. Does he want us to be more defensive? Because that's not Manchester United. Like, I don't understand what he wants. I think this
Also,
whole
we've scored the third most goals in the league, man. What do you mean we're not scoring enough goals? Like, the difference between us and Man City is Haaland. We don't have Haaland.
Right, talent, right? We lack the talent. We don't have. We used, guys. If you looked at our squad from Scholes' day, we probably had the most talented player in 90% of the positions on the field of the league. And it would come down to a matter of opinion, but you could probably argue, other than like maybe, one or two positions, we had the most talented player, including goalkeeper, in the darn whole league.
The bench players, we had the best bench players, dude. Ollie starts for like 5 other teams in the Premier League, like the top teams.
Yeah.
When he played for us.
If you're living in that time and that's what you're mad at, like, get over it, because we are not that team. We are, at best, we have the 5th best player in each position, except for Bruno.
Yeah.
Except for Bruno, I don't think we have anywhere near the top 2 or 3 best players in their position.
You could say Mbeumo, actually. Mbeumo probably gets close to that in terms of like a right wing or 10
right?
Type
But
of
there's
position,
no way you're arguing he's the best. Like,
no, he's not the best. No, he's not the best. He's not the best.
Right.
Here's one thing I want to say as well. In the Champions League final in '99, who are the 2 strikers that came off the bench? One guy who at one point as a sub scored 4 goals in a game. Okay. And another guy who has the Premier League Golden Boot a few seasons before that, right? In fact, the first season of the Premier League, he was tied for Golden Boot with Andy Cole, maybe. Who did he was tied with someone in that very first season. So I'm just telling you guys, like, we're sitting here talking about, Paul Scholes. He's talking shit. Let's be honest, right? He's just talking shit, whatever reason it is. Maybe he's being clever enough to say, I'm going to say all these negative things and it's going to get eyeballs to my podcast, right? And all the Amorim doubters, Amorim outers need some place to go and vent themselves. So, maybe the people that need therapy from this conversation go and watch Scholes' podcast, right?
I'm not saying we're going to lose, Andy, but then the environment is going to be hostile if we do lose against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Now, I know, Andy, did you want to continue, or can I say
no?
something?
No, I'm good. Let's also.
I was gonna hold on. Don't
Yeah.
do that. That's what I was about to do.
Okay.
That's what I was like, and the man I have been waiting to talk to. This is the guy I've been seeing on this channel.
That's the king.
For a long. I've never gotten to be on a show with Nelson, but oh my God, have I had a lot to say to you, man.
That's what I like to hear.
The famous Nelson, and by the way, dude, you always look fly with your all white on every time.
It's the Kanye West. We need to get him the glasses. We need to get him those glasses
every time. But okay.
Okay. So I'm probably done giving you compliments though for the rest of this video.
Let's go. I want to hear your.
No, I need it. But first, you need to bring one of your hot Nelson takes, and then we're gonna go.
No, it's what Jarvis said that I completely agree with the metronome thing. Like, the big concern I have is, even if we bring in Wharton, it's one of my takes that I'd said, well, if we bring in 2 midfielders, I still don't think we improve that much. And it's because even if you do bring in a metronome...
Hold on. You said we don't get top 4.
We don't get top 4, yeah. With this system, the way it's played, how Jarvis literally stated, that speed in which we play in, you're constantly seeing this. Every team that's beaten us, the reason why we sucked at second halves is because we got tired and the other team just kept playing at their normal pace, but they look like they're moving faster than us. And even when Lanre, I don't know how to pronounce
it's Lanre, yeah.
Lanre. When Lanre said like Amagasa, I'm like, Magasa's Ugarte, like in every aspect of his game. So if we brought in Wharton, we bring in Elliot Anderson, they're still not like elite metronomes. If you look at Hulman at Sporting, I have never seen a man scan like that since Xavi. He scans constantly, all the time. But if we bring him here, his physicality isn't good for the league. So my question is to someone like C-Mix and you, Andy, is
Did he have the legs?
People are getting upset that you're agreeing with what people are saying, dude. What is it?
the one with the good nuts?
Where's the scandal, man?
No, but I was getting ready. Yeah.
My question is, even if we bring in Wharton, do you guys really think you would see that jump? Because I still think we need a better scanner, and those scanners don't play in this kind of formation. They usually like more midfielders.
Can I take this? Yeah. Can I take this first, Nelson?
Sure.
I'll tell you what the messed up thing is here, right? Because we look at we look at the problems in our team, and we're talking about the center midfield being such a big issue. But then on the same side, we would agree that Bruno is like first in so many metrics across the league, right? So we lose so much also. Like we would fix other areas of what Bruno doesn't give us, but we would lose so much that he gives us that you need the rest of the team to get better. And I'd say the same thing about Casemiro, because the games where he plays well, and Semix, we had this conversation on your thing. Now it just seems like all one call. I can't even distinguish it. But we had this conversation where there are games where Casemiro covers every blade of grass. He makes every pass perfectly. And then you're like, wow, I can see how this guy was part of 5 Champions Leagues. Right? And so even us getting rid of Casemiro, we are going to lose out on something. So I actually think it's weird to say this because I sound like an Amorim apologist anytime I say something. It's just that there's so much toxic negativity against it that I have to keep coming and defending it. Like tomorrow, if you guys are saying that he's better than Sir Matt Busby and Sir Alex Ferguson, I'm going to be like, no, he's a shit coach, right? Maybe that's what I'll say. But so my thing is, I don't actually think getting rid of Casemiro, bringing Wharton in, and then Wharton doesn't succeed in the system is a sign of the system not being good enough. It's actually a sign of like us having, let's say, in some cases, 50% of the player that we need in some positions, in some cases having 90% of the player we need in some positions, right? So just because you change the 50% guy or you change the 70% guy or the 90% guy, and then you're like, oh, let's hold all other variables constant, it hasn't been fixed, so maybe that means the system isn't good enough, right? So that's how I think about it, if I'm making any sense with that point.
I agree with the point about Casemiro. So was I've been sitting here, melting. But when I look at Casemiro, the things that he excels in, no metronome excels in. Like his physical stats in terms of heading, in terms of how he scans the ball. He's actually
sorry, Nelson. I just need to welcome 2 members. We just had Red Devils Bishal join the members club, and we also had Grace Sheridan a little bit earlier joining the members club. So welcome to the members club. I'm sorry I didn't call you out immediately, but we also have an esteemed guest of panels here, a panel of guests here. Jesus, what am I saying? Nelson, go ahead.
No, yeah. I think the biggest concern I have is if we remember when we had the first debate, and I said both midfielders and we need better center backs for this system to work really, really, really well. And my fear is we don't have people outside that can come in at a good price point. Like I would love Bastoni here because I think Bastoni improves his team significantly. I would love someone like a human type player in this team. We're not going to get someone at the price point that
Bastoni would be great, dude. Bastoni is a great shot, but he's just going to be too expensive.
Yeah, he'd be too expensive. He makes his team significantly better. But my concern is, since we're talking about all these people, we talk about Lamine Camara. We're both fans of Camara.
Yeah.
Camara does a lot of the defensive stats at an insane level, but he's 5'8", which means every heading, all the heading stats Casemiro has, they're gone. Yeah. So who do you replace that with? And I see us struggling with this formation long term. And that's why I also said, as much as I'm not against this formation, I do fear that the implementation of it long term is not going to look good for Amorim unless he gets the right backing, which I don't think Inios will do.
But Nelson, is it fair to say that Pep Guardiola struggles with the same thing, which is unless he has the players that he needs, his system doesn't really function, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're talking about getting in the ring with somebody like a Pep Guardiola, like a Mikel Arteta, because if Mikel Arteta has all his players, you take 1 inch off of them, I don't think they win the league, right? Like, because he's like set piece FC. So I'm just looking at it and saying, for the quality of the Premier League where it is, I hear you. I think you make a valid point. Jarvis made some valid points that essentially, you've said this many times before, unless we have the perfect player for the system, it may not succeed. But I think Inios is getting into bed with Amorim knowing that about him, right? They know this is the case, and they're looking at it and saying, listen, if Pep Guardiola is a manager at the top of the league, he's the North Star that everybody should look at. If he can't succeed with specific players, if he has to buy 4 fullbacks in 2 seasons to get it right, and he has to go through 4 goalkeepers or whatever to get to Ederson, then why can't we also require somebody that needs to do the same things, that requires the same quality tools to give us the same end product?
The only thing I have, I agree with you. In theory, I agree with you.
But explain the backing part, Nelson, because is it financially or is it like with time?
Financially,
I disagree with the financial aspect, because we keep saying that, even about the Glazers, like, oh, they're not going to back him. They're not going to back him. And we spend multiple hundreds of millions of pounds every summer.
We spent
on the wrong players. Yes, I agree. But
yeah.
Are you asking me or Nelson?
No. I'm asking Nelson. It's just like,
okay.
Like if Inios has come in and we're going to say that they have better talent ID than the Glazers did, which I think they do. If they continue to spend at the same rate that the Glazers did, eventually we're going to get it right.
But they don't want to spend like the Glazers did, correct? That's the whole point. That's the whole point of them.
Disagree.
In, right?
We say we're broke every single time, and then we go out and we spend XYZ.
Yeah.
So we spent
70,
only
60.
Yeah, we did 70, 60, 60.
The Sheshko money was pretty Glazer-esque.
Yeah. So 70, 60, 60.
And also
but
the Mbumo money as well.
No, but I think those, okay, to be fair, let's clarify here. The guys we brought in, I think I thought Cunha was going to be guaranteed better than Cunha. I thought was going to be better than Mbumo, and it's vice versa, which is great. But midfielders is something not just us, most teams struggle with. Multiple teams buy midfielders and they just don't work. And I think if you bring in Wharton and Anderson for 100 mil and they don't work off the rip, then you're going to start hearing more and more noises. If we're complaining about Scholes, you can imagine when more noises start coming in, because we see it with all of our players that we brought in for good money. Pogba came in. I thought he was a good player for us, but people still acted like he was a horrible player for us just because he costed 80 million. That's my
Nelson. You know what's crazy though? You know what the duality of these great pundits comes in. Mm-hmm. If we get Anderson and Wharton because they're English, we actually won't get as much slack, even though they're bad, right? And also the Kobe Mainu situation will then completely die down because they'll be like, oh, hold on, we have to pick between this English player or those 2 English players. That's the crazy part about this, right? And so for those reasons, if you're going to tell me guaranteed right now that the pundits will shut up about these players, let's go get an English midfield, right? If that's what it takes.
They didn't care Paul Pogba came.
Though, I think with the point with the Glazers, though, and the point with Inios is, historically, we've always done less than what we needed to do. If we look at Manchester City, if we look at Liverpool, if we look at, they do what they need to do, and they will go above and beyond, right? Yeah. Liverpool had no business spending that much money on Ekitike and Isaac in the same window, but that's what big teams do. United look like we spend big, but we always do underneath less than what we need. We needed a midfielder this summer. Everybody on the planet could see we needed a midfielder this summer. They didn't get a midfielder. They haven't. They spent, but they haven't spent enough. So that's always been with the Glazers, and I think that's also.
I agree. Mm-hmm. And I saw Jarvis cringe too when I made that point with the big Glazers out right on the side. He was like, "Are you serious? You're telling me the Glazers are?" No. But I get it. But this is where I think there's what is the next step, like this next evolution, because it can't just be about spending money. Because if we spend a bunch, right?
Yes.
We're just going to get turned over, aren't we?
No,
it's spending the right way, because we had this conversation again on Semix's channel before we got live here, because he mentioned something very interesting, which is all these other big clubs, they feel like they have the pick of the litter, right? Liverpool can sign the best German midfielder to come out of Germany. They can go sign, I would say actually top 3 striker in the world. Isak was right before he came to Liverpool.
Even Newcastle.
Yeah. And so you have these clubs that have, are better positioned to go sign at some of these players. I would argue Liverpool got their best signings through the door when they weren't getting the pick of the litter, right? They got Salah, who wasn't wanted by 10 other clubs at the same time. He wasn't wanted by Real Madrid. They got Mane from Southampton. They got Firmino
But didn't we
from.
want money? I thought we wanted money
we,
ourselves.
yeah, we wanted
Okay,
him.
fair. But it wasn't like there was 15 people outside the door waiting for give me Mane, right? Whereas that was happening for Wirtz. Even Roy Keane said out in an interview, he was like, "Oh, I was looking at them and saying, let's just go get him, let's sell Bruno, and thank God I kept that to myself," is what he said, literally, right? So, I actually think us being in this forced position of not being able to go for some of these top players is working in our favor, because 5 years ago, we don't go for an Mbumo. We don't go for a Cunha, right? We may go for someone like Šeško because he was a pretty big name and he's been a big name for a while now. But I think we make those mistakes that we are forced to not make right now. And then it's also giving that time for Inios to say, listen, we need more austerity. We need to make better decisions. We can't just go, spending money like crazy and all that. So I actually think we will see some of our best signings. And I'll give you one name, Nelson, to react to, which is Aiden Heaven. Aiden Heaven, we purchased for 1.8 million euros. We purchased Orozco. We got Sekou Kone through the door. We got all these young players that we're purchasing from around the world, including Diego Leon, who, by the way, looks like a pit bull. I know Semix likes pit bulls. So he looks like somebody who could just run through the middle of the pitch and score a goal, right? And just have one of those crazy moments. So I actually think us being in this forced position of not having the pick of the litter is serving us well.
The only reason I disagree with that is because of how well Mbumo has come in, and it's been such a long time since we've had a good signing come in and immediately do well, that we've kind of gone, Inios is doing well. I think there are multiple people here who, what's his name, Šeško. It was clear his stats weren't good to begin with. It was clear he played with he played with a striker in front of him. He was more of the second striker. Openda was the more advanced forward. So the talent ID that we were searching for Šeško, maybe they saw something in the analytics that said, if we get runners behind, maybe Šeško is going to look a lot better. But for me, Šeško was never the guy we should have gone for. To me, strikers never buy young strikers. We've had enough. We've tried them. They've all failed. Martial has failed. Šeško.
So you wanted Gyökeres?
I wanted my preferred guy was Osimhen. Because Osimhen,
but you weren't going to.
I
agree.
The wages were a problem.
I agree with you.
The wages
but it was never
were a
going to
problem. Yeah.
So if we're not going for Osimhen, then it would have been Gyökeres next. Because the reason why you want people who have, specifically Gyökeres, he's been to the championship. He knows how to battle. Arteta sucks. The only way Arteta knows how to play football is wait for a corner kick. So when I look at the way we're supposed to be setting it up, I don't like the players. There's certain players who haven't fit the criteria that you're talking about. You talked about Heaven. Heaven's played well against two of the worst teams in the league, West Ham and Wolves. The next
he hasn't
game
played. He played. Hold on. He played well against Brighton when he came on.
Brighton too. Brighton, fair. But I'm saying where I saw him play really well was against Wolves, and for me, I need to see him play more consistently against better squads, because we saw Euros struggle against better teams. That's why we have this view of Euros. He's not working out recently, but I want to see Heaven against those guys. Then we can have.
I hear you, Nelson, and that's the same point that I have. Right, that is completely fair. Like, we're not getting carried away with Heaven, right?
Yeah.
Even though that's an amazing name, by the way. Like, Jesus, like have that type of name, and Heaven gets the winner. Can you imagine that? But yeah, but honestly, so for my point is, has he looked like several multiples better than 1.8 million euros in this team?
Yeah.
And for me, he has. If that's a player that plays for Brighton right now, we're trying to buy him for 50, 60, 70 million. Because for 19 years old, what he can show. And I will submit that for Brighton, he plays a lot more games as well. Right? That's part of the problem. That we've only seen him play against two of the worst teams because that's where he's gotten the chance to play. Right? It's not like he's played some of the best games and he's looked bad. So I hear you. The verdict is not out on him yet. But my point is that we have been forced. I don't think we go for someone like Heaven, and we haven't gone for someone like Heaven when we had a bit more of the money to spend and before we made some of the mistakes we've made now. Whereas now, because of the Hoyland money, because of letting De Gea go and getting Onana through the door, basically sins of 2023, like we discussed. We're in this forced position now. And guys, we've been live for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I want to find a natural conclusion point. So why not talk about the Bournemouth game, which is coming up, and I'm going to do the preview for that game today as well. What do we think is going to happen in that game? I might have already asked Vinny and Shaylin in previous streams, so let's get started with Nelson. Nelson, what do you think? Actually, wait, you gave us your thoughts yesterday too. Yeah, I asked you too. So let's. Why don't we hear from the two guests here? Let's talk to Jarvis. Jarvis, what's your prediction for this game?
Well, Bournemouth is not in their best form at the moment, but I have always had great respect for Andoni Iraola. I think he's a brilliant manager. I like how he sets up his team, hardworking, mid-block, almost impossible to penetrate. You can't outwork them. They have high morale in the team, but it always comes down to the quality of the Bournemouth players. Andoni Iraola can only do so much when it comes to this team, but I think we have a fair chance of winning this game. Always, when it comes to Man United, it's about scoring the first goal and, getting them to open up a little bit. And maybe I hope that we have the mentality, if we score the first goal, to go for the second and try to kill the game. I think that's been one of our problems this season, not killing off the games quick enough. I think they will overload the midfield. I think it will be very tight centrally, and they will force us to go around on the flanks. They have hardworking guys like Semenyo, for example, who can track up and down all the time. So, but even him is not in his best form. So there is chance for us to exploit it, but we could also be exploited the other way with, for example, players like Ahmad. So we got to be aware of that. So I think we need to choose a balanced pair of wing backs, and I suspect Dalot to start. And we talked about this when we talked about how Man United are set up, that we are unbalanced, and mainly it's because Bruno wanders off into attack and goes a little bit too aggressive in his press play. But it could be fixed by, for example, having one of the wingbacks always invert and be the second DM and not going full on attack with 6 guys. But unfortunately, Ahmad is not the right type to invert into the central midfield. So again, we also lack the balance if we go on attack on the other side. So it's a jigsaw.
Dalot's done the inverted role for Ten Hag before, right?
He
so
did.
If you are asking for someone to invert, and actually I would argue the player that is inverting is not actually the wing back, but more Mason Mount, right? Because Mason Mount has been stepping inside to allow Bruno to step forward a bit more. That's why he gives us much better balance than when we start with, let's say, Cunha, Šeško, and Mbeumo up front, right?
100%. 100%.
Cool. Let me just take the super chat. Neil says, "What do we think about?" Also, Neil, you can use a space, bro. It's not going to eat up a whole thing there. What do we think about 3-5-2 with 3 midfielders and 2 forwards? So honestly, we have already seen this, haven't we? Because when Mount plays as the striker, he kind of drops deep, and we have the 2 inside forwards playing more narrow. And honestly, when you watch Cunha play, he does a lot of these vacating his position a lot, right? Because he'll start on the left and he'll be on the right hand side pairing with Mbeumo and Ahmad, right? So Cunha plays as a spare man anyway, so I don't think you can actually put a name on what formation we actually play when Cunha plays, especially. But great question nonetheless. Semix, prediction for the game.
Neil, bro, if you're doing a super chat and you don't want to use spaces, don't worry about it. Don't use spaces, bro. I don't care what Andy says. All right, any super chat is welcome. Misspelled, no spaces.
He's got more room. That's my point.
And then one more other thing before I talk about Bournemouth. Nelson was talking about Šeško and him not being the right man or whatever. I just want to say that the hardest thing to find in a player is a player with the right mentality. And everything we have seen about Šeško is he likes to study. He does his homework. He works hard after training. He's not one of those that just packs up and goes home. And Christopher Vavell already knew all of that before we got him in. And I will also say that physically he is a beast. I mean, the man can jump high, run fast. He's tall. let's give him time. Let's see what he develops into. If there's anybody I would gamble on, that would be the right player to gamble on when you have one of your scouts saying, hey, this guy's mentality is top notch and he's got all the physical attributes. Now let's see what he
We've
actually
also been
develops into.
scouting him for 3 years. We've been scouting him for a long time.
I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's going to do great, but let's just pump the brakes for a second. Let's see how it works out. Like he might be, I don't know, something fantastic. I don't know. We don't know. We always gamble. Every recruitment is a gamble. Even Mbumo, Cunha, all those guys, even though they scored 30 goals or whatever they did last season, is still a gamble. And that's a gamble you're going to have to make, right? You do it with education. Anyways, let's get into the Bournemouth game. The Bournemouth game, man, their midfield is tough. Areola, I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Areola. He likes to make it hard for other teams. That's basically his whole thing. His whole thing isn't let's play sexy.
Did you just say Areola?
Yeah, I said Areola.
Hard for other teams, bro. Come on, man.
It's not my channel. I'm gonna say it all in.
Yeah, it's like not safe for work. I need to put this shit on the title.
It's not for kids. He's gonna make it hard for us. That's his main mission, like for the whole game, is to make it as hard as possible for us to score, for us to win, and then he's gonna try to take one, through a set piece or a counter attack or whatever. Because he's gonna make it hard for us most of the time, that means he's gonna clog up the center of the field. Shaylin just sent me a message. Anyways. He's going to clog up the center of the field, and that means that our wingbacks are going to be even more important, and the combinations between Mbumo and Ahmad, if they're here, which I hope they are, Mbumo and Ahmad, and then Cunha, and whether it's Delo or Dorgu on the other side, that's going to come in key. This is one of those games where after the game, I always complain about how maybe getting a wingback.
Sorry, someone says Semik's OBGYN. Sorry.
This is one of those games where if something bad happens or we don't pull off the win, I'm probably going to be ranting about how we need to get a left wing back in pronto. That should be our key, whatever, because I think this is one of those games where the wide positions are going to make it or break it for us so that their center can get unclogged so that then we can go through the center again. And also first time one touch passing is going to be vital because you give players like Tyler Adams a second and they're going to be right on your back. So you're going to need those combinations like we did against Wolves where Mason Mount was one touching it to Cunha and then Cunha would do that flick to Bruno to Mbumo. I love that play, by the way. That was like my favorite play of that game. We're going to need more of those quick combinations in the midfield, and we're going to need good partnerships out wide. That's my 2 cents. I don't think the center backs are going to have – they still have to be good, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, this is a team that doesn't score that many goals. So as long as we are disciplined on set pieces, we should be okay on that front.
Semix is like a cross between a doctor and a plumber today because he's like, first he does the areola and the heart on the middle, and then he's like, let's clog it up, clean the pipes. There's all sorts of metaphors there. But no, I hear what you're saying. I call me crazy, but I think Iraola, it seems like he cares more about auditioning for his next job than he does about winning certain games. Yeah. Because I'll tell you what, Vincent Kompany got relegated with Burnley and got the job with Bayern Munich, right? Yeah. And because he kept trying to play his system, didn't matter. I think Iraola, that game he played against Man City at the Etihad was one of the most suicidal, like, dumb shit I've ever seen. Okay, because he opened up the pitch so much against a Man City that this year actually wants to counterattack, that wants.
I couldn't agree more, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this and saying I think Iraola actually comes and plays the same system of football, even though you ask a random person on the corner of the street, they'll tell you that the best way to play United is to give us the ball, right? I think he's going to come and play high possession football against us, and I don't know if he's going to open through the middle or be close through the middle. We'll see how he's feeling, but I think it's going to be very open from a Bournemouth perspective. So this is either going to be a big win for us, where I actually even see like a clean sheet is what I predicted. I know that sounds crazy, or this might be the first game that we see us struggling against teams that we're good against, right? So this could be sort of the game where, you know, a team presses us and actually it manages to penetrate the system, which I see as very unlikely. That's why I'm actually thinking that this could be a win for us. But yeah. Okay, guys, that's a natural closing point. 2.5 hours hit. We had a long stream. Shaylin's been here almost the whole time, so now you know what it feels like to be live for 2.5 hours. But thank you guys so much, man. You guys are all legends. Thank you for joining today. Go check out Semix Football. Go check out Tactical Devils with Jarvis. They're doing some great stuff on there as well. We'll be live again here tomorrow at the same time, 1 p.m. ET, 6 p.m. UK. And, you know, if you guys want to see Nelson put the Kanye West goggles on, which is the ones with the shades on it, you know, maybe we can create a little fund for that and get him one, and get him, you know, one sent to him. But yeah, thank you guys so much, man. Landre, Shaylin, Nelson, there we go. Jarvis has got the glasses on. Semix, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next